Your tacos are ready.
And we're back. I'm going to have to check with New York to see where the money goes. All right, we're back. I'm about to get Brian back on. Let me make a couple of camera adjustments really quick. Thank you, everyone, for your patience, sticking around, having fun with Brian and I. What else could we be doing, right? Let's take that off. One more second. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Brian, welcome back, my bro.
I'm back.
Excited.
All right.
Wow. Maybe I shouldn't use the word tension anymore.
Thank you.
Brian, right before this all started to transpire, I was going to bring up some of the funny titles that you came up with. And I thought, when you sent me the last one, how to raise your FREAK-quency, what came to me was to use all the others title possibilities as talk points. And we did talk about being in a bad space in your life, and we really didn't hit on it too much, how to keep smiling. But one I definitely want to go over here shortly is angels and devils are the same beings, or aliens, angels, Cupid, and the Easter Bunny. But anyway, angels and devils are the same beings. Let's talk a little bit about that and see if we can come out standing on our head.
All right. Well, actually, what you and I talked about in the first little half until we got crazy was every crisis is an opportunity for us to learn and grow. And so let's just say you believe in angels, but you don't believe in the devil, or the other way around. Well, if an angel is going to come down and try to help you learn a lesson spiritually, how would that angel do? Like, you know, let's say you're an alcoholic, and is the angel going to come down all nice and white, fluffy thing and just say, oh, Brian, don't do that any longer. That's bad for you. Do you think you're going to listen to it? No. So instead, the devil shows up and gets you really, really drunk and buys you a whole bunch of booze and gets you to drive your car fast and wreck it into a telephone pole. And then finally you're like, oh, wow, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So the change agent of the angel or the change agent of the devil is really the same thing. It's change. And ultimately what we're trying to do in life is evolve and grow. So if you read about evolution itself, evolution favors those that are adaptable to change. So if you're stuck in the same place as you were for years, you're not adaptable to change. You are not evolving. You know, Muhammad Ali said, if you think the same way you did when at the age of 50 that you did at the age of 20, you just wasted 30 years of your life. So are you going to waste another year? How are you going to evolve? Are you going to wait till the devil shows up and runs you into the tree? Or are you just going to go ahead and learn things? So whenever we, you know, with Alcoholics Anonymous, the first thing is saying, I've got a problem. I want to change it, you know, and accepting that. And so if you know that you want to change and evolve, get off the couch and change and evolve. You have to actually, and if you're not going to change and evolve and you're going to spend another year doing the same thing, you know, they say insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if you're going to just spend another year doing the same thing, you're pretty insane, you know? So you have to either say, yes, I'm ready to step up and do my show or do my thing or take the chance, or you have to accept that, you know, it's a choice that you're going to have a bad time. And eventually, maybe the devil will show up, tap you on the shoulder, and say, "Hey, we'll smash your car into the pole, and then you'll change." So an angel, they're too nice to make some people change. Some people have to wait around and wait for the devil to smash them into the pole to make the change. Either way, they change. Make sense?
Completely. It's all perspective and what it is you're looking for. A diamond is still a diamond, whether it's in a peanut butter jar or not. It's still a diamond. Are you looking for the goodness, the nectar, the morsel that is being offered in whatever situation you're presented with? What is it they say? It's not the situation, it's what you do with it. That's what makes you erect and tall. Yeah, and I get it. We talked about it earlier. Sometimes life knocks us off our feet. What do? Do you continue to sit on the ground and pout and pout and pout because, you got your little pants kicked? Or after you cried for a bit and got nice and pissed off, do you finally stand up and dust your derriere off and say, you know what? I'm straight again. I'm center. I'm ready to rock. It's all about what you do with it. And
so
it's
everybody this time of year
it's the frequency of how often and better we get at the bouncing back to our self process.
So everybody this time of year makes all those New Year's resolutions. I'm going to do this. And so, I challenge you to actually be ballsy enough to listen to the angel instead of having to wait for the devil to come smack you upside the head, And, it might be fun either way. Some people actually need to feel miserable. They're not happy unless they're feeling down, if you know what I mean, And other people actually can be motivated by the angel, by the positive. I've generally been, I guess I'd accuse myself of being an optimist most all my life. I'm usually like the happy dog that every day I wake up, doesn't matter if I got kicked the day before, I usually wake up pretty happy. But that's because I've created a whole series of things to raise my frequency, to keep it up. When I wake up, I just don't hop out of bed and go run around. I give myself better information. I have gratitude. I feel a frequency of love. I focus on the positive and not the negative, because you are what you focus on. What frequency you want.
Brian, how did you get to that? How did you get to this place inside of you that you deem love? What does it feel like? How did you acquire that? I mean, of course you went through different processes like everybody else, but what makes you think
my big one was I had a near-death experience.
What makes you think that you arrived to this place called love? What is that place for you?
My big one was I had a near-death experience. I died.
That's right.
Went to heaven, if you want to call it that, and I got to come back, and so I got to see everybody and everything as a vibration, as a frequency. And so they say that match your frequency to that of what you want. And I know from my inner self, I know that to be true, that if everything's contagious. If I smile real big and have a goofball, you'll start to smile too. Yeah. But if I do that frowny thing and I'm serious and trying to be all in control of things and tell you exactly how things are, well, after a while you'll be the same way too. They say, children, they don't listen to you, they imitate you. That's right. And adults do the same thing. If you want to be a good leader, you should lead from a place of action, not of command, of the mind and the ego, because I told you so. It should be from, hey, I'm doing it too. And then everybody else follows too. A great leader leads, is in front and doing the same thing and not just screaming orders. And so this new paradigm is a place where we're feeling things more. It's not the mind and the ego being the only leader. It's the heart. It's the intuition being in balance with that. And there's actually a third element of that, which is our spirit. And the spirit is the tricky part. Because, we just talked about angels and devils. So what I've learned is, your mind and ego says, I must achieve these things. Your heart feels things, and it feels right or wrong, good or bad. It feels the energy of, but the spirit, when you ask the spirit to bring me a whole nother experience, quite often that experience it sends to you is to destroy everything the way it's always been, the boring, safe way, destroy it all, and then all of a sudden, out of the ashes, the phoenix rises. And your spirit's asking for challenges. Your mind asks for control and saying the things the same way. Your body wants things safe. It's like the mind is like the masculine, the ego. I want to control everything. But the body just wants to be safe. But the spirit wants to grow and evolve.
It wants to be wild.
Yeah.
It wants to be unrestrained.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes chances that are insane to the mind or the body. Yeah.
Wow. I enjoyed that ride, bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
I like the three different layers, the three different aspects of awareness. I was going to make a meme out of this today. 3 levels of awareness. At least these are 3 of them. One is the created. The other is the creation. And the other is the creator. And our level of development will determine which one we are hyper-focused on. Until we can reach the third one, which is the creator, then we can see that through the eyes of the creator, we can see the creation and as it's happening, and then we can see that which is created. So
that sounds similar, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very similar.
I have another one that is similar. I don't know how this fits in. Maybe you and I can figure this out right now. They call it a victim triangle. And it's the persecutor, the victim, and then the rescuer. And the persecutor is the one, that's creating the problems. And in some ways in life, the persecutor is also the teacher, right? The victim is the student a lot of times, and the rescuer is also a bit of the student too, in always coming to save, right? And so, we're in a dualistic society. We say good and bad, good and bad, good and bad. Well, driving from one side of town to the other, you're probably the persecutor by accident, by cutting someone off on the road, and you don't even know it because you're on your cell phone or not even paying attention to the road, and you cut someone off and they're angry at you for being the bad guy, right? And you don't even know it. And so going through life, you're often the persecutor and you don't have any idea you actually were the persecutor. And then, the victim is sometimes a choice, because the way we carry our body or our being and so on, sometimes it's like you've got a big target on you saying, hit me, kick me, whatever, punch me, whatever. And those persecutors are out there looking for someone to kick. And they don't kick the toughest guy, they kick the weenie guy, And so when you raise your frequency, you're raising yourself beyond that victim mentality and that victim thing. And then the rescuer is always in service. And I was taught in my life how to be the rescuer, because I've been a victim at times and I know what it feels like to be the victim. And then I try not to be the persecutor as much as, as some others, So, we're all 3, all of those levels. Does any of that fit into what you and I were just talking about there with the mind, body, spirit?
Everyone has experienced this. Everyone. This is I love the way this is unfolding. You're telling the story, I'm telling the story, and you and I come into a working on it, working the problem, which seems like a problem because we can't figure it out, and I'm pissed off and I'm upset. Or we stay true to the game, stay the course, and we get a little better, and the frequency of you and I's collective understanding working this together begins to accelerate and elevate. We've all experienced this. We go to an amusement park We have the good and the bad. Let's call this a teeter-totter. And they're just sitting back and forth. The good is moving just as much as the bad. No one's right, no one's wrong. They're both moving, and without the other, there's no movement. But as you ride this teeter-totter, the guy who's in control of the ride stands in the middle. And he's not affected. So basically, if you could be that guy, that guy in the middle, that person in the middle of the teeter-tottering of the mind back to the angel or the devil, which one is which? We know this devil on our shoulder is devilish. Are we sure the angel on this shoulder is not the same devil in disguise? And I'm telling you, they both are. Because it's the being in the middle that's the angel. Like you said, an angel would never say, you know, don't go do that. So it's the middle way. It's the Buddha. It's the middle way. A string too tight will break. A string too loose will not play.
I've seen that with the Hopi Indians, and I've seen that with the Tibetans, the middle way, in just seeking the extreme. And so I'm a Libra, and Libras are like the scales, the balancer. And oddly enough, I have a pretty good situation where I will run to one extreme and experiment with that, and then I'll run to the other extreme and experiment with that just to find the center. Some signs or some people actually can go straight to the center. I have to actually bang off of both sides a little bit to find it, you know? So I've had some moments of my life where I've felt, you know, extreme or insane. And they say that, you know, insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So, you know, the trick is to break out of that pattern and to actually find the new pattern, which is the center, and hold it there instead of banging off the sides, you know?
It all comes back to center. You know, we have all these lessons, all these different ways that we try to elevate our frequency. But frequently, how often do we come back to center? Because no matter what, no matter which way you use, no matter which principle, no matter what modality, you always go back to center. So center is kind of like what has to happen regardless, and everything else is just different avenues to get you back to center. That's where the frequency is. Center, the kingdom within, look within, and all of these different beautiful ideas.
All right, well, I'm going to take this to another level because you're a bass player. You love the bass, the roots, the body, that's the note, right? But you know, on top of that one note, in music, you can have harmony all above that in different notes that all work together as a combination. So even though your root note is the same, you can put a different chord on top of that and come up with a whole different feel. So life is kind of like that with these frequencies. I feel like everybody, all people on the planet, have multiple different areas, different notes. Like see of it notes on the piano, you know, the bass note, and then, you know, mid-range, and, you know, further up into the treble notes. And you might hit a chord of multiple 5 notes or whatever. Well, these notes are like the parts of your being. And as you raise one part of your being up, like your mind, raise that up, or your spirit, raise that up, or your body, raise that up, you have to actually want to actually change the whole chord, the whole thing. And sometimes, you know, you see these people that are totally, you know, they work out all the time physically, but they don't have much going on in their mind or much going on in their spirit, or the other way around.
Yeah,
they have spiritual beings that have a bad body, you know, and so as you raise their frequency, you change the chord, and it actually invites the other notes to come up with that. And so if you're feeling unhealthy physically, be the challenge might be to raise your frequency spiritually, or raise your frequency mentally, and the body will come with it, because it's part of the chord. Does that make sense?
Beautifully. And I love I love the analogy of using music to a group of people, a group of energies coming together in harmony. You know, the universe. What does that mean? You know, we're talking about God being omnipresent. People say, well, that kind of means God's a little bit everywhere. No, God's omnipresent. It's present in all places at all times. There's no place it is not except fear, because that's an illusion created by us. So if God is omnipresent and it's everything, hence the word universe. One, verse, song. Universe. Everything is one song. It's this amalgamation of all these beautiful souls throughout creation and spiritual, sensual sex, because there's energies cross-fading into other energies, and they mingle and they play intimately for a while. And cosmically, they go off to somewhere else. We have individual people. We have soul cluster groups of people. We have tribes. We have federations. We have solar systems. We have galaxies. And all these form different layers of group consciousness. I'm Keith. I'm plugging into my angelic group. And then they're plugging into Brian's angelic group. And then these archetypal hierarchies just continue and continue and continue. So everything is this big spiritual gumbo overlapping itself and playing it out from individuals to larger groups and so forth, all the way down to the person. It's just this turning over of, it's like this orchestra. You know, and this might even make sense. Being a record producer that you are, go watch a symphony. Not only is the symphony music that they're playing on purpose deliciously beautiful, the tuning part is strangely beautiful, because everybody's hitting off dissonant keys together, right? And it's got that weird sound, but in it, there's an intelligence. And that's kind of likened to humanity. We're all out of tune, and we're in that part before we actually perform where everybody's just dissonant and tuning up. We're coming together in our frequency, making sure we nice and tight so that when we join the clan, da, 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 da. But there's sort of something that lives inside the section where all the musicians are tuning. It sounds chaotic, and it is chaotic, but there's an order in there somewhere.
Order out of chaos, huh?
I had the same idea. My pianist for Lavender Soul, he would walk up to the piano and just not even look, and just hit a whole bunch of keys that would normally, if I tried it, if I hit the same keys exactly, it would not sound like as if he did it. It's the whole energy dynamic of how he pressed the keys, which ones he pressed first, even though he just slapped the piano unconsciously. It's almost as if you can hear an order in his not trying at all. That's how good he is.
Wow.
Seriously. So he would be likened to a spiritual teacher, someone who no longer has to try because they incenter. They're naturally, that's their default. So anything that they can do unconsciously is not really unconscious. It's just their lowest level surpasses many people's highest level. That's why they can almost perform without fault ever.
So you just mentioned consciousness, and awareness is part of that too. It's being aware that you're aware, right?
Aware that you're aware, conscious that you're conscious, yes.
Yeah. Now, have you had a moment where you finally connected to that? Have you had any aha moments where you realized, I'm not this ego mind thing, and I'm not this body thing only, but I've also got this higher spirit? Did you have any, or have you heard anybody who had the big breakthroughs in a second like that?
I've had some nighttime mystical experiences. I'll give you one short. We've always had strange dreams, all of us freaks, as we raise our frequency. And in my understanding of spirituality some years ago, I knew everything was possible. And I had a few high-level experiences, but not as high as some. And one night, even though when we all sleep, we know that we're not attached. In fact, we know the body doesn't exist until we wake up and realize, wow, I'm in my bedroom. But one night I'm in a castle, and I'm walking through this beautiful castle. Oh my God, these skylights, which is, oh my God, it was gorgeous. And I was on another plane of existence. And as I'm walking in this castle, these two very voluptuous women, as I look at their feet and scan them up, going, the intention was, we're going to get groovy tonight with you, Keith Blanchard, right? This is how it was going down. And as I scan up and I get to their face was very cat-like. I wouldn't say demonic, but it was not a good energy. You can feel it. You can tell. And I've always heard, and it does ring true for me, before I have the most amazing mystical God experience, just before is a very horrible experience. It's that complete split. And so I'm walking through this castle. This begins to go down. I look at their face, and I said, no. They said, where are you going? I said, I'm going outside. They said, you don't want to do that. The sunlight's going to burn you. Hence their dark beings, light, supposedly vampirish, burns the vampire. So they said, you don't want to do that. The light's going to burn you. I said, that's exactly what I want. So I went outside, and the sun begins to bake me. It's like a purification. And I find myself come to a state of consciousness, lying down on my back in a meadow. And there is a 16-foot cross in front of me. And I'm looking at it, and I hear the voice of God in my ear. And I understood all of it. And in my third eye, in black and white, implying the past, I've seen every scene of my life's birth till that present moment. And I begin to do a sit-up crunch and scream the word love in one long drone. I was thrown through into a wormhole. Just like on the movie Contact. I swear to God, exactly like it. And when I come out this wormhole, Brian, I'm in the void. The absolute infinite void of nothing but my own awareness of that void. And something inside says, look up. And I look up and I see 12 angels. I don't know if they were average size and close or really huge and very far. But in their maypole-like swirling, they intuited to me, follow Keith. And in their swishing off, I was pulled into the current. And then finally in this mystical experience, when I get to the final layer, to use a word, but there's no more layers really because the energy is now so fiery and so subtle. But I was so hyper aware, I knew that what stood before me was the Godhead. And I was standing there. Even though you would think at that level there would be no separation, it was a reflective lesson for me. And the voice was, do you want to come in? And they gave me a glimpse. The curtain lifted. And like in the second Matrix movie, when they were in the cave, stomping on the ground in that raw energy, that's what was happening in the Godhead, so to speak. And I said, no, I'm not going in. And I'll tell you why. Because I was afraid not to lose my body. Not that it meant I was going to die. I could have decided. Not because of the death of my body. I did not want my identity to die. That's why. I didn't want to lose myself. I didn't want to melt into the all. I chose to be an individual again in that experience. So yes, I understood, to answer the long about of your question, the difference between body and true potent spirit. Thank you for letting me share that.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, to our listeners who think that's some far out crazy story, ask them if they've ever watched a dog sleep and dream, or a cat or whatever, or another person. They have dreams and their body responds to what's going on in the dream, in that other world. And where's that other world? Where's that coming in? Where's the connection? Is it in the mind? Is it the spirit? I don't know. But your body responds to it. And so there's no difference to your body, to your mind, or to your spirit. All that you said, that was absolute truth. And your body and your mind and your spirit all responded to that story because it is truth. Now, in this little realm that we're in, we call Earth in this world, to an outside viewer, it might not be their truth, but your body, your mind, your spirit responded to that, and the information you got through that is eternal. That's coming from another place. So it's truth. And there's no denying that, you know?
I experienced it, so it does exist.
Yeah, it exists.
That holds true for anyone. Whatever it is that we launch into our experience. You know, if we're going to create by default, we might as well get conscious of the program and create on purpose. Choose what we want using reason, logic, alignment. Feelings, alignment. Yes, just being in and go. And see, the more we practice feeling our feelings, the better we could feel the subtle energies of it. Now that's really getting into the atoms of creation kind of thing, as far as the human creative model is. You know, when you can get into subtler feelings, that's kind of like monkeying with the atoms of matter, right?
Yeah. So when you go see a film, you don't remember all the details of the film. You don't remember what color the shoes they had on and what kind of car they had and all the little details. You remember the storyline generally and how it made you feel. Same thing with music. You might not remember all the notes that were played, but you remember the feeling it gives you. So same thing with the dream and so on, what you're putting in, you know? So we can put things in physically into our body, we can put things mentally into our mind, and we can also dream things and have them recycle in through the spirit. And so what are you putting in? I actually, for raising my frequency, from a young age, just made a decision to not put horror films and bad, ugly images of war and violence and hatred and greed and so on in my head. So whenever I'm like a little 6-year-old girl at the movies, and I cover my eyes, and I just don't want to put that visual image or even sound into my vocabulary of dream time. So most of my dreams are like really happy, positive, good energy, higher frequency things. I don't go to the dark side and go do battle with the dark side all the time. I actually, it's more of a healer energy. It's like my frequency is high enough that I can stay healed. You know, I don't have to go get beaten up all the time in the dream world, you know.
My name is Keith Blanchard. Welcome to Center of Light. I am back. I'm going to be doing this every week. Still not sure about the target date. You know how to find me. Just stay tuned. I'll be doing shout outs to let you know how this begins to unfold. My phenomenal friend, Broham Sandwich, Mr. Brian Harden. We're going to be right back. Spread the word. Center of Light Radio is back.
it that I need more than what I have? I'm just not sure. What am I searching for? The mothership to a distant shore. Could this journey make me more of who I am? I'm just not sure.
Where do you go to find the answers? There is a place you haven't tried. Your search for love is taking chances. Have you ever thought to look inside?
What am I hoping for? A better world, is there a cure? What can I do to help the score? I'm at a loss, I'm just not sure. What am I praying for? To see the light around the world and the people's love restored. Peace on earth, of this I'm sure.
Where do you go to find your answers? There is a place you haven't tried. Your search for love is taking chances. Have you ever thought to look inside? Where do you go to find your answers? There is a place you haven't tried. Your search for love is taking chances. Have you ever thought to look inside? You hold the key to find your answers. I am the door you have not tried. Never again taking chances. Open your heart and walk inside. Walk inside.
How to raise your frequency, all you spiritual, sexual freaks out there. Send of Light Radio's back. I'm with my dear friend, Mr. Brian D. Harden. How'd you like that tune, bro?
Beautiful. I loved it. Now, you played bass on that, didn't you?
I played lots. That song, I played bass, guitar, keys. Didn't do any vocals. It was Bernard and Starmy. Oh my God, is she just lovely black woman? And she, wow. Her talk, there's a magic there, dude. I'm serious. It's divine feminine in its fullest. But I recorded that album in a loft upstairs, an expandable room, with a Rode NT1 $199 microphone. I captured all Susanna Perry Gilmore. What do you call that in the symphony? Concert master, first violinist. I just took that microphone up here and I angled it toward, kind of like this, toward her. Boy, and she started rubbing that string. That whole run, it was just great. But I recorded this very cheaply in my loft upstairs. And I know that you have lots more toys, bells, and whistles as a record producer. Tell me what it's like, if you would. And I want to salivate. I want you to dress this up and make it juicy. So Brian Harden wakes up, right? He comes out of a night's sleep, has his coffee, shit, shower, shave, whatever order he does, whatever he does. And he walks into his studio. What happens?
Well, oddly, just like you were saying, great music doesn't require a golden microphone. It actually requires the golden feeling. I would much rather have an SM57, which is typically a $100 microphone, and a passionate singer than the golden microphone and someone who's not inspired. Same thing with the piano. I'd rather have John Lennon, one of the most famous songs ever, Imagine, has got a crappy upright piano sound on it. It's crappy, but it's a brilliant song. So the feeling has to come through in one way or another, and it's not the microphone, it's not the piano, it's the feeling of whoever's putting it out. So that goes true with everything we're doing. If you and I had a preconceived notion of what we're going to talk about, it wouldn't be authentic. It wouldn't be real. If I was just reading off, my list of stuff to go down, it would be boring. And so most programs are thought out so much that there's no feeling in them, there's no passion in them, there's no love in them, and so same thing with this. You and I are actually expressing from a genuine place, an authentic place, a real place. And same thing with the music that I like to record. Most of the singers, songwriters, and performers that I play with literally can play with the band live while they sing the final vocal live, and they're actually capable of playing and singing all in one take because they're tuned in not to some unimaginable thing, but they're tuned into the moment, to the now, to the present, and to who they're working with as a collective. And so, really, I don't care about the equipment. You can give me a laptop and a $7 USB microphone, and I can capture something and work, turn some knobs and work with it to make it sound a little bit better. But ultimately, if you put the expression in it, then we've got something. And so it's left up. It's left up to the artist.
Wow, dude, that is so poetic.
Yeah.
I so received it from you. Thank you. Right now, I'm just being oozed like someone's pouring spiritual syrup all over me and saying, "Taste that." Totally, that is so it. That is so the freaking it of it all, man. It's like. You can take something so simple, though it may not be of quality, and find what it is that is unique, what it is that's beautiful as to why it's that particular thing. And you manipulate it to something via your intention. That's playing.
So it's the feeling.
That's playing metaphorically analogous, but yet literal. That's playing your instrument. Mm-hmm. I'm plucking the center of my instrument, the universe, one verse song. I'm playing the universe versus being played like a player. It's becoming consciously involved. Evolve, revolve. Every time the wheel goes around, when it revolves, you get another look, so you evolve. And it goes around. How to raise your frequency? And then it gets graduated faster, faster, faster. And not only frequency, as in the vibrational tone, timbre, color, taste, texture. But how often? Frequency. It happens frequently. That's the frequency of it. And so I think for some people, depending on how further along you are in the spiritual game of your process to evolve, when it becomes more default, then obviously you can do things with muscle memory. So when I play bass, at first I have to put my finger on the chord for the guitar and put that down. And now I can just grab the thing and not even think about it and just make things happen. So, but we begin to change.
You feel them. You feel it.
In fact, yes, there's nothing, I don't have to think about where my hand goes. I'm in the frequency of it.
You feel it.
Frequently, it's like once you get better and you can become a professional musician, you don't even think about it anymore. You in the frequency so frequently, you're never not in that place, right? And even
Miles Davis.
Right.
Miles Davis said that what's inexcusable isn't playing a bad note; it's playing it without passion. You know, and then you can repeat that bad note, and it can become magic. You know, by what you put around.
And said another way, said the same another way. Mick Jagger, Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, these people cannot sing. They may be your favorite singer. They can't sing. What they
can express, though.
They're not singing. What they're doing is telling you a story somewhat as close to key as possible. And guess what? Because of the level of where it is they're coming from inside, you are convinced. You are a disciple of that freaking artist.
Yeah. Bob Dylan, you know, what did he win, the Nobel Peace Prize or something? What was it for music or something? What was it? What did he win? Something recently, like in the past year. But anyway, you know, he's a poet. You know, weird voice, you know, mid-rangey and whatever, and never got no range at all. And yet he knows how to tell a story, you know, and he's been a legend that way. So tell your story, make people feel the feeling, get the information, you know. That's really what it's all about, you know.
When we are let's keep it in a singular instead of the plural you, whoever you are, when you are convinced, everyone else is as well. They have no other way to take it. And it's a seed that drops just like that in their consciousness. They see someone who is confident and convinced in something so passionately. Like you said, children don't learn by what you say. They learn by what they see, experience, and intuit. And what is that? I don't need your language. I'm smart enough as the spirit. I came in here, mind you, with wisdom because I am a child of God, fresh from the source. They learn the noise of it all. You know, the Charlie Brown teacher, wah, wah, wah. And so if in our expression that we stand and erect in such a way that there's such a level of confidence and conviction, and I know, whatever it is you know that you know, those people who are likened to those children in an adolescent spiritual nature, by their observation, they begin to learn a new language. Same process, different baseball field. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, you just said the word know, and I just said you know. So knowing comes in different ways. We're all taught you are what you think, you are what you think, you're all in the mind, we are what we think. And even manifestation, you know, when you watch films like The Secret, oh, you have to think it, you have to think it, you have to think it. Well, that's the old paradigm. That's this masculine old paradigm where the mind and the ego is in control. Now remember, we've got the body, we've got the mind, and then we've got the spirit. Well, what's the spirit do? The mind thinks, and the body feels. The body feels. Wow. So the feminine is like the heart center, the intuition, the feeling part, the love, the flowy part, the one that wants to create a circle and think about we and all people. And the mind is about me and just what I'm in charge of. Well, and then what's the spirit? The spirit is this awesome part of us that most people don't even know. They don't even know what they don't even know. And their knowingness in their body is feeling, the knowingness in the mind is thinking, but the knowingness in spirit is this eternal thing. And they say collective consciousness. And even with the brain, the word, strawberry and the taste of strawberry and the number 4 and the color red aren't in places in my brain. But instead, your brain is more tuned into the frequency. It's more like a radio tuner, and you adjust the knobs in your brain, and you can bring in the information. So this collective consciousness is that spirit, and that's the all. That's what we call God. That's what we call energy. What we call love. It's this eternal, all time. But it's all this collective consciousness, all this energy, and it comes in quite often to the third eye, comes into past this brain thing and this ego. It's like a plate here, and it can stop it because the brain and ego can stop it, but it comes into the third eye, and if the brain allows it, it gets into the feeling of the body, and then we all connect body, mind, spirit.
That's
well,
delicious.
if you watch a great athlete or a great musician, a lot of times they have no idea what they're going to do. There's 4 seconds left on the clock, and the ball's going to go into, LeBron James. Everybody knows it's going to go to LeBron James in these last 4 seconds. Everybody, both teams, everybody in the crowd. And so the ball goes into him, and he's not thinking, okay, well, I'm going to do this little thing and go like this and then throw it in. He just has total feeling, total love, total confidence. There's no brain power at all. He's just totally confident and feels connected to the moment. Time literally slows down. Same thing happens with music. Same thing happens when you're making love. The same thing happens in magical moments. So you can have those magical moments when you connect body, mind, spirit. So knowingness isn't the thinking. Knowingness is also the feeling, and then this connecting to the higher spirit. And so we're taught as, Westerners that we are what we think. We are what we think. And no wonder you're unhappy, because you're in judgment, in anger and hatred and frustration and thinking about all the fear. Move that aside, Move that aside. Get out of the mind. Get into the feeling. Get into the love. Get into the magic. Imagination. Imagination. The magic comes to your magic nation. You can imagine anything you want, but your imagination, just like your dream time, can help you with that imagination. The magic can happen when you are totally in tune, but you got to tune up, and you got to believe, and you got to believe in magic, and you got to feel it. Turn off that ego mind controller thing and rip it away, and let that thing not be the leader all the time, but let it come back down to the feeling and to the belief in magic, and magic starts to happen. Is that okay?
Wow. What a beautiful rant. It was gorgeous, dude. What I heard in that, this is not definitely not a critique. What I got from it was, we think language is this talking, this pie hole. That's language. That's language. Everything you said first was, you gave all these different ideas for connection about the athlete. He's this, he's that, and he's connected. And in the connection, he is all those things you described. And then what I got was, he's bilingual. He understands this language, yap, 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 but he also understands this language. It's all a divine script. In the beginning was the Word. Word implies a language in the word. So he's able to take in the language in the dimension of the hearing, the dimension of the eyes, the dimension of the mind, the feeling, all these different multi-dimensional aspects of himself. He understands the language all at one time. Like you said, a musician. Someone who gets an inspiration, you know, you're stuck and you're writing a song. Look, that thing is, that thing right there, that's the gate. That, whoa.
Well, you know, you just use the word inspiration, inspire, in spirit.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, inspiration. It comes through spirit. And so, you know, we talk about Christianity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And, you know, you go to church and they talk about God and then they talk about Jesus. Well, God is like the mind, or Jesus is like the body, but they just kind of fluff over this Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is the thing. That's the God. That's the all. That's the universal. That's everything. So when we think of our body and we think of happiness, your body's not happy. Your body's satisfied in the moment. Your body's now in the moment and satisfied. Am I warm? Am I hungry? You know, am I thirsty? Your body's in the moment, in the now. And it doesn't, you know, it's not in judgment. It's just now. So your mind, where's that? Uh-oh, that's the judgment. That's the comparison. That's the black and white and good and bad thing.
So right there, you just demonstrated at least two aspects of the same self. In other words, you talked about this, and then you said, now we have the mind. So you perfectly described that. I just showed you, audience, that you are not this one thing. You are multidimensional layered. Here's the body, here's the mind, here's the this, and here's that. Please continue. I wanted to bring that up so I can anchor that, as well as make that a point for those who caught that Brian just says, you know, I'm just showing you another aspect of the self. That's a big deal for people to go, wow, I'm not the thoughts, I'm not the feelings. I have a body, and now this is what my mind feels like, and now I can become more easily aware of my spirit. Thank you for that.
So anyway, let's go back. The body's in the now. The mind is in judgment, in comparison. Like we have two eyes, two ears, two, you know, nostrils, always trying to judge. Like the only way I can tell distance with my eyes is if I have two. If I have one, I can't see the distance. I can't judge distance. Or same thing with the ear. You close one ear, you can't tell which direction it's coming from. So the mind's always in judgment. And so the mind's comparing the past and the future, always judgment. And in the body's, once again, now. Well, what's the spirit? Uh-oh. That's God. That's the all. That's the universal. That's everywhere. That's
and for a lot of people, that's also taboo.
Yeah, because they haven't gotten there yet. They're in their mind.
Yes, and because everyone loves God, even people who are afraid of God love God. They're just, their denomination or their walk or talk, no judgment, it just doesn't serve them to becoming that which they really are looking for in the first place. So when it comes to, you know, my body's in the moment, my mind is somewhere else, judgmental land, I am not going there. I understand it. I dabble with it. I like the idea of it. I'm not ready to do the work. One, it could be, honestly, a laziness. Or two, it could be a threat, meaning I'm not ready to nibble on that piece of bread.
Yeah, so spirit, for me, is that universal. That's the all. Universal. And so most of us never tap into that. Or, you know, if you spend all your time just watching TV and you're not connecting to your higher spirit. You got to quiet the mind, not keep putting it in, you know. You got to calm the body. So meditation was the big one for, I know you and I, you know, once you started meditating, you could feel there's a whole lot more. This is not a two-dimensional world. This is not just good and bad. This is like all collective, right?
Friend of mine, dear friend of mine, like you, we can have these kinds of dialogue and just, it's nothing, right? You know, whether no one else was here, and you and I were just Skyping each other with a glass of wine and some earth or whatever. But I have a dear friend like that, Steve Lancaster. He was on a pulpit since he was 11 years old, right? He started the Happy Church, a charismatic church. And after 25 years, one day he said, I don't belong here anymore. But one of his things he always says, and it echoes what you just said, which is, if you think there's more, then there's probably more.
Can we as humanity start to get rid of the idea that we use the term I think but instead I feel? That's more the
That's
feminine.
monumental.
Yeah, and we start to feel things as opposed to only think things, and at least get that in balance. And then the spirit, I used to see that triangle of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is Father's the mind, Son is the body, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit's this universal. Well, the mind thinks, the body feels, and the spirit to me was like belief or acceptance or love. Do you have any connection to that higher spirit in a word that you could describe it?
I just described it. And I didn't know I did it until I'm actually channeling right now. I just described it by the way my eyes moved. And you posing that question to me, I was listening intently to the question. And when I realized the question was taking me to a place to search for, to answer your question, and my eyes gave that away, because as you posed the question, when I knew that you were asking me directly a something, can you tell me what it feels like, and I'm searching for it. And I found it. It feels like my eyes allowed me to become aware. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. And then it opens up right here for me. Right here in the center. All of that. My entire bus splits open for me like that. And this is the lowest point, which ironically is the highest point. But it's the lowest point. And this would be the highest point. And this whole, the word that comes to mind is vagina. Yoni. It opens up for me. And I truly feel like I am inside of the birth canal of the cosmic womb, which is this place inside of me that open. It's so motherly for me. It's just, and then the elation, and then the waves come, and the waves die, and the waves die. It's like an orgasm. Like it's truly like an all-being orgasm. It's just this beautiful thing. And
I have an exercise. I have an exercise, not for necessarily you and I so much. This is certainly not a trick. This is an exercise for all the listeners to seek this out. And I don't know if we should do it right now. Maybe we will. Why don't we do it right now? Everybody who's listening, just take a second here and close your eyes and just feel yourself, that whole mind, the body, the spirit, the whole self of you. And take a couple deep breaths and just feel like grounded, in that you got frequencies all over you just vibrating. And you can let those energies go. You know, they say angels fly because they take themselves lightly. So take a few deep breaths and just clear your mind, clear your being, put a little smile on your face, just center yourself and feel good. And now I want to ask you, with your eyes still shut, just take your finger and point to the center of you. Where is the center of you? Where's the center of you? Point to the center. Where's the center of you? Is it your mind? Are you pointing at your head? Are you pointing at your third eye? Are you pointing at your heart? Where are you pointing? Where is you? Where is you? That's a big question. Is you out there? Is you in here? is in here, in there? I don't know. And I wonder if you ask that same question at different parts of the day. When you're at work, it's right up in that mind thing. When you're in this feeling and playing music, it might be in the heart. But so are you the mind? Are you the body? Are you the spirit? Is it the all, the collective? When we say holy, isn't whole complete? WHOLY? Holy? Is that should be how it's spelled. Is all. The mind, the body, the spirit. And so for me, you can have love in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, and that is the universal. That's universe. Imagination. Right? You know, you can connect to all of it, you know.
We're gonna take a break. Lavender Soul.
Right.
That is called presence. That is what you're present to us. Watching you, which I didn't have to look at you. I was doing other things. But I was in where you were coming from effortlessly. That is a language. That is telepathy. That's presence. Lavender Soul, here's a present from me to you. Welcome to Center of Light Radio.
She was there to drive them to
Welcome to Center of Light Radio. Yes, Center of Light Radio is back. If you know me well, which you do, and if you don't, what a dear blessing it is to meet you, my cosmic bro ham sandwich or my sis star. My name is Keith Blanchard. Took a break. Center of Light Radio was on the air for quite a few years. Built up a wonderful listenership. It's not the size, it's not an ego stroke. It's a reflection of the arena as a spiritual teacher, as a humanitarian, as I contribute to the world in the way that just brings me the most joy. That's who I am. So I love you from the get-go. I'm plugged into the system. I'm plugged into myself. I'm plugged into you now. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. I appreciate what you have done. Everybody else can let it mean what they want it to mean, and it serves me greatly. Because of it, I know you. And in this, I am grateful. That last song by Lavender Soul, my spiritual band, came from this album, the first album, called See the Light. Look inside, see the light, and more. That song was called Angel of Love. There was a presence that a person was blanketed with, a cloak, a divine cloak, and it showed up in the form of an angel. The light of the experience, the taking in of the light of the experience, the recognition of a memory long forgotten. It created that sacred holy space of, oh my God, this is real. This is the Holy Spirit. No doubt, there's no mind play in this at all. There is no mind. This is another language. This is a language of just knowing. You impregnated with something. And the experience is beyond comparison. That is what Brian and I were talking about right before we went into that break. Is being in that hyper expanded awareness space where everything feels like you being nurtured, cradled, loved, supported as an infinite child who can do nothing out of balance, because nothing happens without universe or God's permission. Nothing. Forgiveness has not only started with Christ. That was the landmark in what we call linear time. When, see, most people, Brian, they think they're under the, not most people, many people, in fundamental religion. It's hard for them to grasp the idea that forgiveness has always been. I understand we see things linearly, but it's always been. The idea has always been around. And those fundamental people think that this sin thing, Jesus died for our sins. I get that. But let's understand the root of it all. The word sin simply means mistake. Sin implies, mistake means an aha. It's an awareness. It's a learning tool already. But they think Jesus died for our sins. That's not what he did. In fact, Jesus didn't die at all. That's already an illusion. I just proved it to you. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I just handed you something to look at. People think Jesus died for our sins. Jesus did not die. He became alive in every possible way with the Father. So he didn't die on the cross. He lived. That is the whole point of following the Christ, to become the Christian. So he didn't die for our sins.
Christ consciousnness, right?
Yes.
Christ consciousness. So, instead of following Jesus, become Jesus.
Correct. Yes. He says, stand up. He called us brother. He didn't call us my servants, my peasants. And so he didn't die for our sins. What he did as the pure light of his heart allowed the darkness in the world to move through his pure being. And he transmuted it because the light dissipates dark. Same thing everyone else says, said differently, in a way that brings illumination to the situations versus I'm fucking in trouble. It just basically says the world was already saved, but we do live in this place that goes from here forward. So at this juncture, the way the game is played, because this is all the game is, here are landmark periods in your life. You know, you got Jesus, you got Abraham Lincoln, you got Martin Luther King, you got the Beatles, you got Elvis, you got you and I having this dialogue.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali. I can tell you're a big Muhammad Ali fan. You've been talking about him quite a lot today. Share that with me.
Oh, he stood up for everyone. He wanted to. He said, "You can have my title. I've got nothing against no Viet Cong. You can put me in jail, steal my title, but I'm not a killer. I'm the best boxer in the world, but I'm not a killer." And he stood up for racism, you know, to stand up for that injustice. He stood up for women, and a little known thing that he stood up for was for peace in a huge way. When the Iranian crisis happened, when our president Carter, Jimmy Carter, was in office. Jimmy Carter's still alive, in fact, but Jimmy Carter was the only president we've ever had for those 4 years. He didn't bomb, he shoot a bullet, nothing. And during his time, some Iranian students took some hostages that were American tourists that were there. Well, those American tourists are really odd to know. One of those was the chief of the Lakota, who was there with this Lakota peace pipe. It's the World Peace and Prayer Days around that pipe. It has to do with their white buffalo calf woman bringing this pipe. It's a peace pipe. And he was there to create world peace with this pipe. The Lakota chief was. And he ends up getting pulled as a hostage. And who released those hostages, according to history, would be Ronald Reagan. But the lie is Ronald Reagan released those hostages. Well, the day Ronald Reagan went into office, those hostages were released. But who actually released those hostages were Muhammad Ali going there with his celebrity and with his power and fearlessness and said, "Give me these hostages." And he brought them back. And so look that one up. That's a mind-blowing thing that he didn't get any credit for, yet he's the one who did it. And day one of Ronald Reagan being in office, the hostages were released, so everybody says, "Oh yeah, Ronald Reagan did it." No, Ronald Reagan was more of a warmonger than Jimmy Carter, so they knew the warmonger was coming in, so we better release him. But and they knew that Jimmy Carter wasn't going to bomb them or shoot guns. He was the only president in history. 4 years, no bullets, no bombs. And so hats off to Jimmy Carter for peace. Hats off to Muhammad Ali for standing up for everyone in the world. So I love them both. And so, you know, let me spin it back around. You were talking about forgiveness. Forgiveness. So when you forgive someone, you're giving. What are you giving? You're getting rid of your anger, your hatred, your frustration, your judgment, and so on. You're forgiving them. You're not only saying it's okay. You're not saying it's okay that you did me wrong. It's that I'm not going to carry around this hatred anymore. I'm giving it away, right? And so you're letting it go. You're letting go. Forgiveness, right?
Martin Luther King, someone spit on him. Took out his napkin, wiped it, and gave it back to the gentleman and said, "I think this belongs to you."
Wow.
Right.
That was all 50 years ago. When do we have to stop protesting this crap? I mean, at some point, why doesn't humanity wake up? And it's because of the programming of television and so on. We're programmed to divide and conquer and hate each other. It's like, turn all that stuff off and start looking at each other, the similarities, not the differences. You know, there was a great monk back then in 1968 also that checked this one out. He was a Catholic monk named Thomas Merton, 1968, 50 years ago. Thomas Merton lived in Kentucky, at this monastery called Gestemiti. In fact, it's probably not too far from you, 100 miles or so away from where you are in Memphis, Gestemiti in Kentucky. And it's where Jack Daniel's distillery is. And fantastic, these monks that were all Catholic monks, Thomas Merton rose up amongst them, and he was writing not about the differences of world religions, but the similarities. So he was interpreting books from other religions and giving a Christian perspective on those books. And so he saw the similarities of all world's religions back then. And he realized Dalai Lama in 1968, Dalai Lama had lost his country, Tibet. And so he decided to go to Tibet November 4th, 6th, and 8th of 1968 and visit with Dalai Lama and share with Dalai Lama that he needed to understand Christianity and teach Buddhism from the perspective of Christianity, and also do the same thing for all world's religions. And once that Dalai Lama understood all world's religions and could teach from a place of each one of those, the whole world would be his world. He didn't need a country. He didn't need a town. The whole world would accept Buddhism as a universal oneness and accept it as being not something to hate, but something to accept. And so Thomas Merton did that. 3 weeks later, he was on his way back to Kentucky, and he was in Bangkok, and he gets electrocuted while he was standing in a bathtub. He hit a light switch and electrocuted him and died. And so his life's goal, his mission in life, was to get Dalai Lama to do that. And Dalai Lama said, I will dedicate the rest of my life to fulfilling Thomas Merton's wishes of unity and compassion for the world. So how about that? A Catholic priest from Kentucky that drank whiskey and made whiskey fudge was the one who brought Dalai Lama to the world. Isn't that amazing? And he was right there in that same town that Muhammad Ali is in, is Louisville. And I think it's Louisville. Anyway, wherever Muhammad Ali is, right there. And I actually helped to put a film together honoring the Dalai Lama, Thomas Merton, and guess who was there in the middle? Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali was there in presence. Just awesome. Awesome energy. Yeah. Didn't say much of anything, but brilliant presence. Yeah.
So that guy, Thomas Merchant, is that his name?
Thomas Merton, M-E-R-T-O-N, Thomas Merton.
So when he got electrocuted, he raised his frequency.
He did.
Right? But Brian, as I sit here tonight, and I'm gonna acknowledge you, so you're not gonna like it a lot. As I dialogue with you, you are present. I see you looking down at notes because you come prepared, you're passionate, your delivery is amazing, you're easy to believe, not that you're trying to convince, but it's easy to be in that space. That's really, really cool, bro. So this one talk point that you and I tossed around as a possible show idea, title, saying yes to yourself. What is that for you, sir?
Wow. Well, some of us are trained by the mind all the time, and so they're in fear all the time. My mom's coming in. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Can I see you, Mom?
You're on video.
Hi, beautiful lady.
There's my mom.
Got my pajamas on.
What is your name?
She's got her
please?
pajamas on. That was your world debut, Mom.
What is your name?
Okay, so we're live on TV, so we better get back.
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
What is your name?
My mom's name is Marion.
Hi, Marion.
Hi.
Blessings to you, dear lady.
So let me go back, because the question is actually pretty simple. You were saying about yes. You say yes, yes, yes. So when you're in your mind, you're in judgment. And that keeps you in this place of fear, of actually always judging and comparing things. And when you make the pattern of this guy's the leader and not your heart, not your feelings or not your spirit, when you only connect to this guy, you usually end up sitting in fear, and you're buying bigger guns, and you're hating more people and whatever else. But when you go to the heart and start to feel not the differences of people, but the similarities, you can feel the difference. You start to have this thing called compassion, right? And compassion is knowing the feeling that person's feeling. So instead of hating them, knowing the place that they're in, and then not judging that and hating it, but actually feeling their feelings and knowing that really they need help to lift out of that. They need to actually come to a better place.
Thank you very much. What I was doing on this whole time was waiting for you to pause to say exactly what you just said. When you're in this place, it's not really that you are trying to change the place that you're in. That place you're in will always exist. What you are doing is removing yourself from that place to this place. And what we're trying to do is move all the other consciousnesses, brothers and sisters, to that place with us. Because that place will always exist. And there will be a new wave of souls to experience that bandwidth, and so forth and so on. It's not that we're changing this place. We're getting to the garden. And the only way in the garden, it's not by navigating with your eyes. It's about navigating. It's an invisible place. It's a place of feeling. It's a place of being. Because when you no longer focus, as Brian had just so poetically, deliciously said, on these certain aspects, another whole universe begins to open up and you begin to move in it. I had to eject someone from a presentation the other night. I loved his passion. I loved his fire for what he believed. I loved it. It was beautiful, because if more people had that kind of passion, even though I had to eject him, the world would be in such a more powerful. We would be in the more powerful world, and we wouldn't be on this one, right? But we just go to the next place. So how do we get there? We get out of all the stuff in the mind that keeps presenting itself as a carrot, and we keep biting the carrot. We got to go elsewhere. So when we stop focusing on this erroneous devil and let it go back from whence it came, because my focus is the eternal. So if I focus on the eternal 100% of the time, without fault, without failure, that behind me doesn't exist anymore. I'd rather go to a congregation of any nationality, religion, or creed, code, or sect of people that talks about creator, endowment, 100% of the time, then go find someone who talks about everything like that, but for the last 5 minutes they talk about something that's just a bunch of freaking nonsense, and I'm not interested in it. So I'm not going to divert my attention into this illusory experience. But it's real, Keith. I know it is. Of course you do. Guess what? You're right. Who was it? Henry Ford that says, if you believe you can, you're right. If you believe you can't, you're right.
That was my favorite quote my first quote I ever collected. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome, brother. God bless you. You validated, I guess. Wow. Because, and here's the thing, like we talked about earlier, like I mentioned earlier, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, guess what? You're right. So when we live in right and wrong, which is a teeter-totter, seesaw, if someone is standing by the seesaw, just being still, keyword, be still and know I'm God. Be still, instill their silence. I'm not in the mind, so there's not that monkey-minded noise going on. While the world can do this, right and wrong, they both dynamicking with each other. One's not right, one's not wrong, but right and wrong are going at it in this ongoing fight. And you're the silent guy standing right in the middle of both of them, watching them teeter-totter back and forth. That's the center. That's the place. Let the world yammer about all the negative. Let the world even yammer about all the positive. That's not what you are. When we begin to accept, initiate, integrate, and graduate into that divine truth, which is the law that holds everything into place forever. It never started. It will never end. It's this thing around you right now, and it's alive. It's fucking alive. It's breathing life. Your couch, your static couch that you're sitting on right now as you listen to this interview with Brian back and forth and I, is alive. It's breathing. You're breathing, drawing it in. And guess what you're doing after that? By its influence, or how you spin it, if you're endowed, you emote. And the whole system begins to breathe back at you by what you've created. And you take that in, and you emote. And the universe says, I got your volley. Let me hit the ball back to you. So now you're playing this spiritual tennis volleyball game until you get so good that you naturally just win without even ever playing the game anymore. I don't have to play tennis anymore. I've been playing so long. I've won this strategy. I know it in, out, up, down, all about, without a doubt. That's my experience of God, Brian. That's what it feels like to be me when I wake up and sit in this chair doing a live Center of Light presentation with myself, doing one with you. I'm in this glorious, grateful, blissful place right now that I'm bringing Center of Light radio, visual back. I don't know what to call it. Maybe just Center of Light. I got a brand new logo I put on the top of this screen. I found this gorgeous golden lotus flower, this nice font, Center of Light. It's me. I feel blessed. I got this little on-air swingy thing going on. The whole bling bling looks fucking good. This is my level of passion, the same level of passion I see in you when you share your truth, your heart, your insight. Powerful. And it's like a song. I mean, you just have that way. How do you think that we can begin to empower people to be more like the models you and I are presenting here?
Well,
to say yes to themselves all the time.
Well, you just mentioned heaven and hell. Where's heaven and hell? It's right here, right? Like if you're up in your mind and you're in judgment and hate and fear and anger, you're in hell, right? If you're in love, you're in a new place. Now, love, that means accepting every crisis or every problem as an opportunity to learn and grow.
Accept, allow, appreciate. That's love. That's its three facets. Accept, allow, appreciate. Please continue. Thank you.
Yeah. So if all we do is argue, blame, and complain, oh, it's his fault, it's blah 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 blah, then you're not accepting, you're not understanding, you're not looking for the solution. And if you keep repeating that argue, blame, and complain over and over again, that's called insanity, repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And so if you're in that insane mode of repeating, then you're in hell. And you don't ever learn your lesson, you don't ever grow, you don't ever evolve beyond that. So what we have to do is go, oh, I've got a problem and I want to work on it. And then once you say, step one of Alcoholics Anonymous is saying, I'm an alcoholic. And then step two is realizing, accepting it, and then saying, hey, it's a choice from now on. It's my choice to either be an alcoholic or not. It's my choice to actually work on myself or not. If I've got a dream in my life, it's my choice to actually act on it or sit on the couch and watch TV. And if you're going to sit on the couch and watch TV, well, then stop bitching. It's a choice. You made the choice that you actually want to be insane and you just want to sit there, But if you have a purpose in life, if you've got a goal in life, if you actually want to evolve, if you want to share your gifts, then you got to get up and get off the couch and do something. Everybody is perfectly built to accomplish their own mission in life. Some people's mission in life is to take care of animals. Some people's to grow a bunch of kids and raise really awesome kids. Some people's to be a big CEO and whatever. It's all the same spiritual experience. There's no more enlightened version if you're Mother Teresa than if you're just a mother. If you raised your kids with the same passion and you let those kids help others and inspire them to help others, it's the same thing. And
Brian,
so,
but you know what the payoff is for doing what you just said? Guess what the payoff, everyone? The payoff is because now you have the power of the collective.
Yeah.
You as an individual become more powerful. And because you become more powerful, guess what is at your disposal? Liberation. Because you have the power of the all saying, I'm with you when you join in forces. United we stand, divided we fall. That's why we need to remove all the limitations, all the barriers of race, creed, code, sect, the wall. I don't care what your politics are. I understand politics. I understand certain people's agendas as to why they would make certain choices. I get all that. I understand all that. Is it aligned with the truth? Is it aligned with the highest option? If it's not, anything... I don't know who said this. It is so delicious. A guest on my show. Oh, God, please let me say your name because you deserve it. Robert. He says, any choice that you make that is less than the highest one is self-detrimental. Any choice we make that is not the highest one is self-detrimental. Kind of puts you in a seat of saying, wow, I need to up my awareness game to find out what this highest choice is, so I don't find myself in a place I wish I was conscious of.
Can I add to that?
Please.
Okay. So the higher choice, does that come from your mind? Nah. It comes from your feelings. What brings you joy? And then in your spirit, okay? So ask yourself how. Now we're talking about New Year's resolutions and what your big plans are, for the rest of your life. Today is the beginning of the rest of your life. So ask yourself, how can I serve the world? I mean, maybe it's raising a single baby. Maybe it's raising a whole community. Maybe it's raising the whole world. I don't know. But ask, how can I serve the world? And then ask yourself, what brings you joy? And then do more of that, do more of that. And that's what you do. Make that your passion. Make that your inspiration in spirit. And every day wake up with that. Everything else that isn't that, you got to get rid of. If what you're doing isn't supporting the way you serve the world and what brings you joy, what are you doing with your life? I mean, making money? That's living in fear, to where you build this big cul-de-sac and neighborhood and protect it, and it's all safe, and I've got guns, and I've got, dogs and whatever else, and I'm living. Go live. Go travel. Go excite. Go share. Go be big.
Go do what you're not.
Just stay here on the camera and share it.
Go do what you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Go do what you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Brian, I got you for another hour. That's a stupid question. I'm sure you're in. Are you in?
Am I what?
In for another hour?
Oh yeah. In fact, could I add to that a little bit right there?
By all means.
All right. So we talked about body, mind, spirit, right? So the body's body is just in this moment. It's just satisfaction. It's not joy. It's satisfaction. I'm satisfied. Yum or yuck. Do I have enough food? Do I have enough water? Am I warm enough? I mean, am I secure enough? Is it all fine? So the body's just in the moment, and that's seeking satisfaction. Woo! And then the mind and the ego is about comparing, compare, and judgment. I'm better than you. And so this judgment mind is in the past and the future. It's all over the place. And so with the mind, it's more about happiness. Am I happy? Am I happy? Am I happy? Am I happy? I don't know. It's moment to moment, and it's all judgment of past and future, right? So there's satisfaction of the body, there's happiness with the mind, but then there's this other thing, the spirit. And that's this joy and bliss. That's this joy. What is joy? Well, that's whenever you get connected to this higher spirit. That's when you're inspiration, in spirit.
Joy is evidence of the presence of God. That's what joy is. It's like, what is this? You don't have to call it God. In fact, you may not even know that's what's happening to you and a whole bunch of your friends at a table drinking wine, just goofing off. And all of a sudden, someone says something, and everybody just falls into this swoosh. And next thing you know, y'all all in this place from. That's the presence of God, because the door was open as to why y'all all went there together. And you may not even talk about it. Oh, did you feel us all go there together? You may not even fucking talk about it. You just know that something somewhere inside just happened that was beyond the normal dialogue of yak, 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 and the fact that we came to this club tonight and sat at this table. There's a remembering that happens. And so as you described all these wonderful things, people might be thinking, so what is the point in me becoming this person that's so aware of this and that and this? Oh my God, if you only knew what begins to move inside of you in the form of feeling, inspiration, limitless possibility. This is a very living thing. It is a conscious, living God. It orchestrates everything. I mean, it's truly me moving my hands up. Though we are children of God and we are fragments, I've been doing a course, my 12-week course, Crossing to the Bridge to the Soul, my first audience course. And I love them all, and they're beautiful. I love the fact that they've given me their fucking attention. I love it. Feels good to be that part. But I love the whole thing. And the reflection, no pun intended, a few of my friends in the course, we talked about the first installment of the Divine Principle. The title chapter is Walk into the One. The One. Not the many, but the one. Many of you, let's walk into the one. And so a few of my friends, when I posed, asked the question, what did you get from this chapter? And they all gave me their beautiful, delicious answers. And I said, the intent of this question I'm going to pose to you is to take you to what my intent is about why I'm asking this question. And the question is that you are God. How does that feel? It's the perfect question for the beginning of the course, because I want to take us out of the body, wanting the food and the security and to be safe, and the mind and its many ideas, to a place where nothing means anything except what you assign it. And the perfect idea, two or three people asked me, I understand it. I don't feel it because there's some resistance, which is beautiful. I love it. That's the purpose of the course, to take us out of the norm into a new place of experiencing. So the question, Brian, everyone, is what does it mean to be God? But I'm an individual. I have a body that needs the food, the security, the safety. I have a mind that tells me what I am. Then I have this other thing that Brian has been so gorgeously talking about, the spirit. And I'm using his gestures. I'm channeling him right now. We have this other thing, the spirit. And so through this whole thing, for me, Brian, it's like this place. It's a mirror. So if I am the absolute of it all, how can I be a fragment? So you take this whole mirror, one mirror, and it reflects the all of what it's having a dialogue with, a reflection with. You take that same mirror and you shatter it on the ground. Every fragment of that mirror will still reflect the whole. So the I am God of it at my soul essence, Christ said, follow me. I am the whole mirror. Now the mirror has been shattered, to use a word, or made to these beautiful little pieces. Every piece of that mirror, piece, P-E-A-C, P-E-A-C-E, of that mirror, shines the whole. That is how I can answer that conundrum about how can I be the all as well as one of the small. Your thoughts?
Well, they say it's similar. It's like you're the drop in the ocean and you're the ocean.
That's what
you're right. Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, where's the separation between the drop and the rest of the ocean?
The idea that one would think that I'm not part of the ocean. That would be the imaginary boundary. The line that separates Tennessee from Mississippi, that invisible line that we think that we're divided.
Yeah, it's imaginary. Yeah. So you used the word remember earlier, and I thought that was awesome because the word religion, reconnect, remember, reconnect. When we talk about body, mind, spirit, it's connecting to the all. And most people talk about mind, I am what I think. And then they have this body that the mind's the monkey on the back of this body riding it around, and they don't ever get to the spirit. But when you reconnect to all, to the spirit and pull that down and actually know that there's an observer, you know, who is this thing there's this mind judging the whole thing, but then what's that spirit behind it, you know? That's saying you can do it. It's okay. And you're full of love. Well, I luckily died. If you have a chance to die and come back to life, I highly recommend you do it. It's a fantastic experience. And with some people, they have to go on these shamanistic experiences where they do enough ayahuasca or whatever it is, and they peyote or whatever, and they get to this place where they actually, their spirit shows up, you know, and it doesn't. The spirit, you know, it does show up a little bit with alcohol, but that spirit's more like a pirate. It's like Ard, and it just wants to smash things. That's the devil pirate that just wants to destroy stuff. But it's not the universal all spirit that I'm talking about. Some of these drugs, you know, ayahuasca and peyote and some other things, are used in a shamanistic spiritual experience to get our frequency to feel that there's another spirit. Now, you don't have to do drugs to get there. You can have a near-death experience. You can have a real-life experience. The one thing I got from my near-death experience was fearlessness. I've got no fear of death, and once I began with the no fear of death, I got no fear of life.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
You know?
In the Divine Principle, Brian, it says, people who have a fear of death, that's not what they're afraid of. They have a fear of regret. Regret that they have not allowed themselves to actually live. If you was to go to a convalescent home and talk to someone who is 98 years old and let them tell you their story, they are so fucking ready. They don't have regret. They live fully. They've lived fully and holy. They lived. They tilled the land. You know, they shoveled the cow shit. They built the house. They created their ranch, their garden, their space, their sacred space. And they lived proudly, full of integrity, full of dignity. Did things the right way, wholesome.
If they have a regret, the regret's usually not of what they did, but what they didn't do.
They have not allowed themselves to live. Brian, we're going to go to another break for a moment. I'm going to get you some water. Use the little bowl.
I'm going to do an improvisational dance while you play some more music.
Well, that would be awesome. But the only way I can play music, you won't be seen, but God will see you.
Okay.
Stick around.
Thanks.
Because I didn't know life could be like that until you walk by.
Hanging on the wall of doubt till you walk by. Something happened inside my
Yeah. Yep.
Ah, that was some Lavender Soulage. We're working on a new album, Brian. It's
beautiful.
We had one session. We're going to start in February. We're going to actually record the album as we write it. We're going to get somewhat of a foundation, but once the foundation is there, we're just going to start. And I'd like to send you some of those files. So, you know, be involved or not, your choice, whatever. Involved in form of, you know, just some simple input from your beautiful wisdom. My name is Keith Blanchard. Welcome to Center of Light Radio / TV. I was on the air for 7 years, Center of Light Radio. 4+ million listening audience. Big number. Lots of kudos for me. Did lots for my work, my passion. Actually, my play rather than work. And what the fuck else would I do except sit in my house, have a shot of tequila, talk to my dear friend Brian, partake of some Mother Earth, and have beautiful conversations about things that make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. And tonight's presentation is how to raise your freak. Get your freak on, dog. How to raise your frequency. How to raise the freak in you, the unique you that sets you, quote, apart from everyone else. When you do what you love, then you're better at that aspect of creation than anyone else. That is your worth. That is your currency. The current, getting in the life current. See? It's an energy. You have an account. You have an account, and you account for something. That should count for a lot. How to raise your freak in you. Quency. How to raise your frequency, your vibration of what you want to experience as a truth. I choose the truth versus a truth. I want the, not T-H-E, T-H-E-E. I want the truth. That's my goal. That's my intention for everything I do. That's how I use my will and my desire to raise my frequency. Now what I want to do, as we all do in certain arenas of our own lives that we've perfected, be it a bodybuilder, a musician, an artist, a dancer, a florist, whatever it is you do, whatever it is that makes you the bee's knees and the shit. When you start playing in that arena of frequency, doing things more frequently, how frequent I do something, my frequency of it, the longer you begin to expand yourself into the bliss that you are, because if you do what you love, and God is love, this is worth it. It's worth it. Like Brian, like myself, like whoever you may be, when you fall into that lightning rod, that alignment, that passion, this is a passionate universe. It doesn't slack. It doesn't give up. It's relentless for eternity. And when we fall into that, our freak, our unique self, our frequency elevates. And how often we stay in the elevation becomes very frequent. Brian, I would like you and I to go into an arena that us grown-up young boys love playing in. Let's talk about others. We've never really got into others. Sky people. Let's play. How's that sound to you?
Yes.
He's rubbing his...
Yes.
Go for it.
Go.
No, I had my moment. Thank you. I'm sitting on my throne in my kingdom and looking at it and saying how glorious it is.
Well, would you start? Go
What's
for
that?
me. Take me somewhere new. Let's go.
Have you ever had, we all have other experiences. We may say they're dreams, and they may simply just be mind play. And the mind looks for things that can describe energetically what you've experienced. I get that. We all have dreams. It's like you watched a movie in a theater and you exited the theater and you woke up and it was just a movie you saw. Then the next level is, I have a body on the bed and I'm present. I'm in the matrix and I'm conscious of it. I'm aware that I am in a place. And then there's the other, the third. Here's that three again, beyond the duality, the magic, the majesty. And that place is, don't put your seatbelt on, take it off. You don't want to be restrained in here. Right? Have you ever had an experience that you were so present with, it was beyond trying to reason with yourself, and when you woke up and went, well, I'm not really sure if that's really what happened. Have you ever had that experience?
Oh, most definitely. My near-death experience was extraordinary. I got to go to that universal place and come back. And then from that, I learned lessons which were that everything is a vibrational frequency, that we're all love, and that just like every animal or every being, we're all trying to evolve. We're all trying to change. We're all trying to create a new way, a fresh path. It's about progress. It's about and that's humanity has to unify and come together and work together. So that also taught me, that experience also taught me that not only raising my frequency to love and kindness was what humanity all and unifying was what it was all about, but when I went to that place and came back on the path there and on the path back, I reviewed my life, and the question was, did you learn your lesson? So every problem, every crisis, every situation that I was in through my life up until then, and continues to be, had to be looked at like a lesson. Like, instead of repeating the same thing and expecting a different result, look at what got me there, how I was attributed to that problem, and then not repeat it. So that was the pattern. So then when I got to the place that you would call heaven, and then had the chance to either stay there or come back, the question, it wasn't spoken in English, but it was sort of these words. It was asked, have you fulfilled your life's destiny? So I live from a fearless place, knowing that I am one with God, this universal eternal thing, where we're all one together, and I'm part of you and you're part of me. So when I see you when I see myself in your eyes, I can't hurt you and harm you. When I can see, when it's called compassion, when I can't harm you because I can see and feel the way you are and what you're experiencing and going through. And so that's universal love. And then all those experiences together got me to say yes, and to know that I am a feeling, I'm a frequency, and I have to help others bring their frequency forward. So as a record producer and as a sound engineer and a video guy with lights and so on, it's all vibration. The lights are a vibration, the sound is a vibration, the expression of all the musicians all coming together and unify, it's a vibration, and it gives a feeling. And so my gifts have been to help others bring those feelings together and share them. And then I've learned in the process of doing that for myself, share the feeling. And when you're raising your children, share your feeling, share your love. Don't do it from the mind and tell them what to do, but live as the example for them and full of love. Treat others with love, and then they'll learn how to love and respect others, you know? So monkey see, monkey do. And so if you're going to be a leader at work and you're the boss, well, don't boss people from the mind and the ego because they said so. Do it from a place of love, of inspiration, of forgiveness, of kindness, of compassion, and of we. So the old paradigm is this way of like one man standing up there and everybody else sitting out in the crowd looking at him, and he tells you how things are. Well, the new paradigm is this feminine place where we're all in a circle, and we're not thinking about me, and business is all built around capitalism, it's all just business, you know, it's nothing personal. Well, this new way is the we, it's the collective, it's the all. It's thinking of how we can do what's right for all of us, for all of eternity, for the long period of time, not how much money and profitability I can make now. So all this applies to business, to individual, to the universal. Is we have to come from a place of love. So when they say the answer to every question is love, it really is. You know,
as above,
it's our approach.
as above, so below, on forever it will go. And you can choose to get in the raft, and ride the current, or you will become the rocks that resist the stream, and you will have turbulence and rapids in your life. That's it. Merrily, life is but a dream. What is the song? Row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily. What a freaking piece of divine wisdom that is. In other words, stop fighting. Yeah, but you don't understand. No, you don't understand as to why you're in a fight, and you have a plight, and you're using your might, and everything's now out of sight, and you're living in fright because of all this platform you're launching your experience from, which is completely in all love. Honestly, when I say this, it's out of ignorance. When you come from a place of knowing and understanding, standing under something under something that, quote, lords over your life, that has power, light, punch. Brian, I want to read something that I got. I had a dialogue with a friend today, that we had that discussion about accepting my own divinity fully. And this is not a toot Keith's horn. This is truly something that was really, really powerful that came through. And it feels appropriate for, at least as part of what I'm ranting. Why do we need gurus? Because they know more, and as teachers, they show the way to become just like them with them. In the student's humble love affair with a master lies the doorway, the disposition to be able to receive what they have to offer in the form, information of cosmic truth, light, and power. So it's seeing the reflection of something I aspire to, and say, wow, that's not a truth. That has to be the truth, because it's beyond the mind's thought. It's a feeling that says, oh my God, this is so palpable. It takes me beyond rational thought. I cannot rationally outthink this. It's impossible. And so the only way to ever get it, not only get it in the form of, I get it, but to get it, to receive it, to have it, make it your own. The heart's the only place that can experience that and invite it in.
We talked earlier about mind, body, spirit, and knowingness not only coming from here, but the feelings being the heart center, the gut instinct. Your knowingness comes from other place, and then this universal knowingness. Well, the same thing goes with the word you said a little earlier, ignorance. Ignore. You can ignore your thoughts, and you can be ignorant. You can be totally knowledgeable, but still ignore the truth. And you're ignorant because you're ignoring it. Same thing with the feelings. You can ignore your physical feelings in your heart, or ignore the messages you're getting from spirit. Ignore that, and you're ignorant. And most of us, sometimes in our lives, we choose to ignore the messages we're getting, the feelings we're having, and we're doing it because, well, it's going to bring us a lot of money, but we don't listen to our spirit saying, fly, let go, trust, let it be.
A lot of people are offended if you, not that you do it in a derogatory way, if you say that you're ignorant. That sounds like a slap across your mouth, a slap across your face, right? You're ignorant. It's not what it is. In fact, if you're offended by someone calling you ignorant, that shows and proves exactly how ignorant you are, because you don't know the definition. We need words to understand human dialogue, to communicate, of what the word ignorant means. Go to Webster, look it up. It says you just don't know a something, basically. So when I say you're ignorant, it doesn't mean I'm saying you're fucking ignorant. You just don't know something. You don't simply know what you're talking about.
Most of us don't know what we don't even know.
So ignorance is basically a given.
Yeah.
So Brian,
have you gotten there to those places where, when I was 18, I knew everything about everything all the time, right?
No, you
and
didn't,
as I'm getting
I
older, I feel like I know nothing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't know everything at 18 because I did.
Oh, we would have been dangerous together.
Thank God.
How many cars did you wreck when you were 18?
I've only had one car, my first car, that was wrecked, and it wasn't my fault.
Oh.
And that was at about I was a musician, I had a girlfriend. I always leaned on the girlfriend, right? Back in those days. So my first car was a Dodge Colt. I think 2 days after I had it. An 18-wheeler behind me. Switch lanes. Well, I know how big my rig is. He pulls up right next to me and switches lanes on me, and my car starts spinning, and I'm going towards the concrete center medium wall.
Did time slow down?
Oh, complete. In fact, it didn't exist. It was just. Strangely, though, there was a fear present. Oh my God, this could be bad. There was also a very beautiful possibility. It's strange. I can't explain it. I know you know exactly what it is I'm saying. It's like, in this no time, I'm familiar with no time because I'm infinite. And that's somewhat creating a buffer for the fear I'm feeling while my car is spinning out of control. It's kind of a cushion. Have you ever had that experience to where in that note? I had a friend of mine in a gig one night. I won't get into the whole story, but she got shot in the back. Brian, listen to this. As a sound engineer, if you have a band on stage and you open up the channel, you unmute it before they turn on their bass amp because he's in a DI, there's a snap. But if you turn on the amp first and then open the channel, there is no snap. Well, coincidentally, second set, I turned on my amp and I heard pop. Then you hear pop, and everyone's rushing towards the stage to me, saying, "Oh my God." And my intuition says, that was a gun. And so, first thing was angry thoughts, judgmental thoughts, afraid. Well, of course I'm afraid. Fight, flight, fright. I don't want to get hit by no fucking whizzing bullet. Whatever this is about, my blessings to them and God bless them. So after about 45 seconds, a minute, when it was, I knew intuitively it was over. Nosy Keith decides to go investigate, and it's my friend on the floor that I had 2 weeks of conversation about miraculous things, about her affirming to the universe, I miss my deceased husband. Strangely, Brian, when I went around and saw her lying on the floor, the paramedics and the police officers, some of them said, "What are you doing?" And other paramedics, police said, "No, let him go. She will want to hear his voice." So I put her head in her hands, her hand in my hands. And all of my fear, all of my anxiety subsided, completely just subsided. It went away. And I had the most amazing moment with this person and God, who chose me to be the last one to whisper sweet somethings in this person's ear. All of my fear, all of my anguish, all of my anger left because I shifted from judgment to blessing. And then I went home and explained to my 6-month-old son, using words of my experience, to watch something that seemed so horrible be something so beautiful.
This isn't only spiritual, it's physical too. In physics, they have one law, I don't know if it's Newton's fourth law or something like that, where energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only change form. It's eternal. That energy is eternal. That spiritual energy is eternal. And that spiritual energy that's in all of us, coming in, and it's connected to all. It's the ocean, and we're just a drop of that ocean, but we connect into that ocean at all times. And when we die, the body dies, the ego mind dies, we go back into that ocean, and then we get a chance to come back into the body and have another ego. Sometimes we're a male, sometimes we're a female, but we have this eternal energy.
We can either revolve or evolve.
Yeah.
We evolve, the game is done. If not, don't worry. You will get it right, so don't fret. It will come back around.
So there's no detailed, written out knowingness that I have of what other worlds there are and so on, because I mean, you and I can go directly from the spirituality to higher levels of things that you'd call conspiracy theories and crazy talk, which would be if you and I right now go outside and stare up at the sky, you'll see the nearest star, the light coming from that star is 8 light years away, meaning that it takes 8 years for that light traveling at the speed of light coming at us to get to us. 8 years away. Crazy. I can't even imagine. That's the nearest star. And so we've got universes and more universes and billions and billions and billions of these universes. And we can't even imagine how big is. And if Jesus made this whole universe here and all the galaxies just for this one little planet Earth and these little, no. There is so much out there that we can't even imagine.
Is it like aliens playing marbles, maybe?
Yeah, we can't even wrap our heads around how big is, right? You can't wrap, so it would just be a bad waste of space if Jesus made the little Earth to be that, you know, in all this extra grandiose. So we can't even wrap. We just got electricity 120 years ago. We just got the ability for cars and gasoline, and then, you know, planes and whatever, and all these impossible things. Ooh, well, we finally have the ability for information age. So we've had this physical revolution of industrial revolution. We've had this mental revolution of the information age. So physical was all the stuff. Mental is all the information. And then the spiritual revolution is where we're going now. And we can't even imagine, we don't even know what we don't know. And the spirit, you don't even know how big that is. I mean, to me, Jesus didn't ever say, worship me. No,
he said,
Jesus
follow.
In his, now there was written and reinterpreted in the Bible, 800 versions to a King James Bible who was in the printing press in 1680 and blah, blah, blah. And thee, thy, though. No, Jesus didn't write in thee, thy, though. Those were interpretations taken from Hebrew, blah, 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 to English, right? So, I mean, what did he really say? He really said, I'm an example of raising my frequency to a higher frequency. I can walk on water, and you can too. You can walk on water. You can split the oceans. You can make water into wine or bread or, you know, whatever. You can do this. And so it's that you have that ability to raise your frequency. So we can't even imagine spiritually where we're going to go. We can't even imagine how big is. We can't imagine how many other beings are out there in these other universes. We can't even imagine where our light being, when we go back and cleanse, do we end up on other planets? Do we end up in other things? My belief is if we stay here, I have a choice of being male or female. I also have a choice of being the 4 root race colors, black, white, red, or yellow. So sometimes I come back as a black man. Sometimes I come back as a Asian woman. Sometimes it's all over the map. And sometimes the spirits that I connect with here, that my mother in another lifetime becomes my son or whatever else. And these spirits, you're rolling along in life, and you're at the grocery store and you look over and there's some being you've never seen before, but you know them. You know that spirit. You know that spirit, and you know that there's going to be some connection. Now that connection maybe in another lifetime or the whatever, you've done it wrong. Maybe you were lovers in another lifetime, and this time you got to get it right. And it is not that you have to be sexual lovers. It means that you need to love, come from a place of love, not war and violence and I'm going to cut off your head and do unto you before you do unto me. But it's instead, I love myself, and I see myself in your eyes, and I love you, and I'm going to respect you and honor you, and in whatever way. So that's life, you know. Raise your frequency, spread your love, spread your message. Make sense?
And what's the payoff? Your life gets
well,
effortless. It's just easy. There's no struggle. You live longer. You're joyful. You feel full. All these wonderful qualities. Brian, we have one more segment. We got about another 30 minutes. Not because I'm done, because Facebook will not allow us to go beyond 2 gigs or 4 hours.
Well, how long have we gone?
Bro, we started at 7.
Oh, what time zone are we at?
Then we had the interruption. We did another presentation that started us from 0. So we can go to 11:25 before it will cut us off. So we have about another hour. And I'm willing to do that. Let's do a quick Lavender de Soul song. I can't just play other songs because I would like to play This Is the Dawning of the Age of Aquarius and theme music like I was on Coast to Coast saying, but I can't because Facebook will slap you and say, you don't own the copyrights. But I do own the copyrights to this music. We're going to be right back. I may play 2. I'm going to see how I feel when I get out of the little boy's room. So we got another hour. Brian, thank you, bro. I am so, this is my heaven on earth. I am in my FREAK-quency. Thank you, bro. Yeah. Let me find the song. Here we go.
All right.
Stick around. I'm going to play the song that we had this Sight, 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 sight. Problem earlier. So let's see what it works. As Brian would say, I'm fearless. It's going to work.
It's going to work. Back.
Lonely as I contemplate a billion stars, leaving my hands to fate. That's all I've got, all I've got. In the summertime, I won't have no water. Oh, the wait, it's a little bit harder to take.
Yeah, I've got a second computer here. So I'm at my parents' house, so I got 2 laptops going. And I got a second laptop, and so I have to listen to that, and it's a little delay. It's kind of cool, though. Yeah.
Leaving my hands to fade. All up to fade. I wonder why. Ooh, I wonder
welcome to Center of Light. Radio is back. Thank you for having me, accepting me into your home, your heart space, your consciousness, into your heart. Brian and I come at you in a loving relationship between he and I. We make ourselves vulnerable by being just two knuckleheaded guys bantering back and forth about beautiful ideas, things that are sacred and precious to ourselves. And I hope that it inspires in you, which I'm sure it does, and I'm sure you're already that way yourself, but at least supports and echoes for you that you're being validated, that you're living a life of goodness. That's what you want. That's your goal. And your goodness goes way beyond what you can imagine. It doesn't mean you. You're bringing others up into another place. This world that seems so troubled will always exist. We don't heal the world. We heal ourselves. And then so magically, silently, the kingdom simply appears. It's that place, that singularity, that point, that one point intendedly meant that we are fragments of. But in those fragments, and that's beautiful as children of light, but when we decide to become the light itself and not only an individual or fraction, I'm choosing the conscious, deliberate responsibility. Careful, warning, so to speak. What's the word I'm looking for? Once you become conscious, you become accountable. It's not a fear thing. It's a responsibility. It's a duty to say, wow. Are you saying I am imbued with so much consciousness, love, and light that I have the devotion, power, and might at my disposal? That's exactly what I'm telling you. There's nothing else. That's why you're here. There are millions, no, excuse me, the number is infinite, of cosmic beings. They're jealous of you and humanity. Why? Because we live on a linear timeline, though it's never started nor will it ever end. But for the human's mindset, we are the first to become the embodiments of such a prophecy. What does heaven on earth mean? What does that mean? It's just some cool sounding scripture. Yeah, I dig it. That's kind of cool. Lions lay down with the lambs and streets of pavement. That's kind of, yeah. No. This is a living reality. Brian is proof of that. I am proof of that. Many of you are proof of that. And so this place that we're able to be a part of, not only we human this time, and that's wonderful in and of itself, that the humans have the, as hard as it can be, to be on the endless hamster wheel until you decide to get off. There are many souls, not souls, entities, energies, consciousnesses that want to be human. They want to be here. They want to see what all the hype and the commotion is about. They're digging that shit. And that's why they're here. They all have their agendas. And guess what? We are all a part of their agenda. The missing link is not some monkey man fossil piece you're going to find in a rock. The missing link is the information I am giving to you right now. There's your missing link. Information. Information. Something is in a formation. Information. Jesus brought about information in the form. This is what is transpiring on the earth right now. This is the gig. And so now we have an opportunity to elevate everything. It's going to happen. It's happening for me. It's happening for Brian. It's happening for many of you. It's just letting the old paradigm go. Within the silence, suddenly the new world appears. Is that what it's like for you, Brian?
Yes. You know, we talked right before the break about spirits. What you just brought it back around to is that the spirit actually wants to be in this body, this temporarily, meat suit, and with this temporarily crazy ego in the way, this ego in the way, and this mind in the way, in this meat suit. It's a roller coaster ride. You got this judgment monkey up here that's always wrestling around and thinking it's in charge. And then you get this meat suit body that's always decaying. From the day you're born, it's always decaying, and also at the same time giving birth to itself too. And it wants to live forever, but it's not going to happen, And then the spirit that does live forever, and so it gets into this little ride. And just like you go to Disney World and you ride on the roller coaster for a little while, eventually it ends. No one gets out of here alive, right? No one gets out of here alive. But what you do get is during that ride, during that journey, life's not a destination, it's a journey. But during that journey, you get lessons. Did you learn your lesson? Are you growing? Are you evolving? Are you leaving something behind for next generations? And it could be a child. It could be the information to help children or to help other adults or whatever it is. Is your wisdom spreading? Do you have something left behind? So if you're not creating something, what are you doing? Destroying. So create or destroy, yum or yuck, that's a choice. And so raise your frequency to that of creation, not of destruction, not of judgment and fear and anger, but instead of love, of welcoming, of expecting that every problem is really an opportunity to grow, so there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear.
There's something you say often, Brian, and I love it. And it's simple as it is. It's just so simple in its wisdom, but it's so powerful. It's so potent and so truthful. You say yum or yuck. It's your choice. You have a simple choice. In fact, let me tell you exactly how powerful you are, as Brian said. But let me reiterate. You are so powerful. When you get beyond the left, the right, the good, the bad, the up, down, the right, the wrong, the teeter-totter, the seesaw, and you're the still one, while that nonsense monkey-minded sounds off, you understand that you're in a place of choosing deliberately yum or yuck. Because with every thought, Brian, that's it. You just simply, and your spirituality doesn't have to be even bigger than that. There's nothing bigger than that. That's how easy it is. We've learned difficulty. So it's an unlearning curve. Yum or yuck. Wow, I get that. Now the next task would be to begin to be able to monitor yourself ongoingly, frequently, that, oh my God, right now I'm in yum. And you go unconscious for a little while because you go about your task. Oh my God, bring it. So I remembered, get back to center. And so your intervals, the frequency of it gets better. And next thing you know, you, like you said, you're at least progressing down your timeline. Get off of the couch and off your lazy fucking ass and do something. Stand up. Spirituality is not really that hard. It's not all this doctrination. It's not all this. It's not trying. It's standing off of your fucking chair and declaring, dear Lord, I am in a place right now. And if I'm not, I'm declaring that I am so going to plant myself to say, this is what's going to happen because I simply had enough. That place changes it all. That's what it took for me. I was in a dark night of the soul. It sucked. And it took me to say, I don't know shit. I don't know anything. I'm done.
My grandmother was told, you're going to die in 3 weeks or 3 days or whatever it was. She said, I can't die. I've got things to do. And she lived for, I think, another 10 years, And what things do you have to do in your life? What's your purpose? What's your soul? What's your feeling? What brings you joy? And so why aren't you doing them? Get off the couch, turn off the TV, stop hating, judging, argue, blame, and complain, and go to what makes you happy, If raising kids or helping dogs or whatever it is that makes you happy, do it. Be creative. Yum, yum, yum. Do more of that. Because when you're smiling, then others smile. It's like it's a give and get. I mean, if you're having a bad day right now, go out tomorrow and fake a smile. Just fake a smile and go out in public. Fake a smile, look at someone in the eyes, and see what happens. They'll smile back. And so what you give, you get. What you give, you get. So if you're full of fear and anger and frustration, you get it back. You know, if you're depressed in your life, they actually say, look around you. It might not be that you're depressed. It might just be you're sitting around with a bunch of assholes, you know? And they're running the argue, blame, and complain game and bringing your energy down and yuck, 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 you know, judgment, hate, fear, whatever else. And so get rid of those. Like, get a whole new thing. I had friends that were suicidal. I helped 6 different friends get through their suicides and come out loving their lives. And at one point, I was driving, I think, to Florida in the middle of the winter just to get a break and raise my frequency. And so I'm sitting there on that drive, and I was thinking, I would never commit suicide. I would never commit suicide. And the most exotic place I knew at the time was Key West, Florida. In fact, that's where it was heading. And I thought, I would never commit suicide, but if I was in such a depressed place that everything was horrible and down and I hated my life and whatever else, I would just change it. Why couldn't you just move out of your neighborhood, your cul-de-sac, whatever you built, and just move to Key West and change your name to Paco and open up a tiki bar in Key West, Florida, and just, that's your new life, you know? Whatever you want to do. So in Key West, I meet
Paco.
this guy,
Paco.
And he had just done that. He was a straight businessman, totally straight, with kids and a wife and 35 years of, that was his life, you know, and he raised these kids and his kids became successful and he was really powerful, but he was unfulfilled. At some point he realized, inside, I'm gay. He realized he was gay and that he never lived his gay life. And he moves to Key West, he becomes gay. I mean, the wife, the ex-wife and whatever, everybody was happy and they were happy for him because he was in love with his new life and he found his happiness. And he became gay in Key West and he was brilliant. He was happy. He was sharing his love. He wasn't trying to smear his gayness on people. He was smearing his love on people, his enthusiasm for life on people. And his children appreciated it. His wife, his ex-wife appreciated it. Everybody loved him even more for him being genuine in who he was and finding his passion. And so I don't know, you know,
it
just
reminded them of their own desire to be genuine.
Yeah.
In who they are, as to why they said, somehow right now, even though you are a fag or gay or whatever slant someone could throw at them, they say, you're making sense to me right now. Mm-hmm. And it helps to release other people from these false models, these false ideas. You know, let's talk about that for a second. Just gay people and the whole damn idea of gay people. Not that it's a anomaly or anything like that. If you ever go out and hang out with a group of these people, you will wake up tomorrow with the biggest smile on your face. They are so joyful and full of jubilee, and they're exuberant, and they're, what's the word I'm looking for? Boisterous. They're so glamorous. They have this bling about them. And the bling is quite eye-appealing. It is. It really is.
When you overcome hatred, you have compassion. When you rise up above that body, you're in this part of the wave that's extraordinary. And you're not in that body part. You're out there on the cutting edge. And when you feel that feeling of being beaten up and abused and hatred and whatever, you don't want to ever give that to anybody. So instead, you want to give them the opposite. You give them love, you know? And when you're powerful enough to do that, you rise from the, it's a phoenix rising from the ashes. You can be that extraordinary person by, at one point, being the victim, being the beaten, abused, picked on, whatever. You don't have to turn that anger back to anger. You can turn it to love, right? Uh-oh, did I lose you? I think I lost you. You're making a sandwich, aren't you? I guess he is. All right, so anyway, so yum or yuck? Let's go back to that. Yum or yuck? So you had choice. Everything's a choice. So if you choose love, if you choose optimism, open-mindedness, joy, excitement, you get it back. If you smile, it's contagious. If I am angry and do that, you know, crunchy face thing, then that's what you get back. Serious. You know, it could be in the mind. It's your judgment. You're not good enough, right? Then you do that. So when you wake up in the morning and when you go to sleep at night, if you spend the last 5 minutes of your night before you go to sleep going, oh, I could have done better. I hate that person. This is, oh, I hate our government. I hate our whatever, and hate, argue. You're just, and then you go to bed and you're dreaming and you're frustrated and you're clenched. Your body's clenched. You're hurting. Well, guess what? You wake up exhausted. Your body's just been clenching all night. Your dreams are just nightmares. You're living in fear. It's a frequency. So let go. Breathe. Angels fly because they take themselves lightly. So you let go of all the fears and the anger and the frustration and the judgment and the hate and whatever else, and you go to gratitude. Gratitude? Thankfulness. Yeah, what are you thankful for? Well, I'm thankful. There's this little girl, and some little girl, her affirmation, she's standing in front of the mirror, and she's like 4 years old, and she's up on where the countertops are, some video, and she's like, I love my bedroom, I love my bed, I love my dog, I love my whatever. She's so happy, and it's contagious. I'll have to play that for you at some point, or put a link. I'll put it underneath of this video. And this incredible little girl just doing that, just full of love. And when you watch it, you're just full of love. So with that, she probably woke up full of love, and her parents were full of love, excitement. You know, how can that joy not be, you know, exciting? The same thing with a dog. A really good dog will wake up and be happy and like, woo, let's go take a run. Woo, let's have some fun, right? And so that's contagious. You know, that's why a lot of people have these happy little dogs, you know? And so a dog will mimic the energy of the owner. If the dog's in fear and judgment and whatever, the dog will be barking all the time. Rah, 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 right? If you got a dog barking all the time, maybe you need to change your energy. Think about it, you know, or feel it. And the dog feels your energy, right? And the dog actually feels your energy from all distances too. Like Deepak Chopra, I used to run media for him, and he explained that they've done tests where they take the dog and they put a camera on. In fact, you can do this right now with a security camera or whatever. Put a camera inside the room where your dog is, and then leave the house. Right, and record the camera, you know, with a little clock there or something, or timestamp, and watch the dog. You know, the dog's in the room, standing by the window or whatever, and he falls asleep on the couch, and then you leave, and that dog goes to sleep, ignores that you're not even there. It's fine, right? The moment you decide, I'm going to go back home, I'm going to go home, I'm headed home now. Look at your watch, and then when you get home, look at the videotape or whatever it is, the recording, and you'll probably find that dog alerted to your frequency and tuned into your frequency right away, and was running to the window like, hey, daddy's coming home, mommy's coming home, right? So we're all connected in these ways that we can't even imagine. Even the dog's connected to your energy, right? So it's all contagious too, right? So if the dog's acting bad, maybe you need to look at yourself and feel for your own frequencies. If your kids are acting bad, maybe you need to look at your own habits and your own frequencies, right? How do you raise them? Well, go back to love. The answer to every question is love. What is love? Love is not judging, not hating, not argue, not blaming, not complaining. It's forgiving, letting go of, you know, they say with hatred, you know, you carry around this big rock as a big hot coal, like I'm going to throw it at you, except for I never throw it at you. It just sits there burning on me, So these anger and hatred builds up, and at some point it locks you up. You can feel it in your being that you're just totally screwed up, So your choice of yum or yuck is every moment, every breath. What's your habits? Have you forgiven? Are you full of love? Are you making new habits of forgiving, of loving, of kindness, of caring for other people, of doing something good? And so God, G-O-D, I actually used to own God.com back in 1995. And I am actually God on Facebook right now. I'm actually God on Facebook right now. I don't know if you know it, but so if you ever get a message from God, it's actually from me. I'm just joking around. And it stands for goodness. Goodness overcomes dysfunction. Goodness, G, overcomes, O, dysfunction. That's what I consider it, because, my first prayer that I was taught when I was like 3 years old was, God is good. God is great. Well, when I got to God is good, I was done. Good, whatever good is, and you could feel what good is. So for me, God within me was just sharing my goodness, sharing my love, sharing my kindness. So yum, more of that, please. And what I give, I get. How about that?
Again, we have learned difficulty.
Yeah.
I loved your bio. In fact, I'm going to read a very small snippet of it because it's important. Brian's going to be bashful, and that's okay. He can do that. That's beautiful. He's being vulnerable.
Well, that's all the ego in mind.
Right,
I don't like that.
So, but here's the thing. What you said, what is said in your bio is, as a child, you knew it as a child. Many of it, in fact, all of us knows it as a child. But as we grow, we get indoctrinated, we get slammed, we get instilled, and all these things. But Brian's bio says, I believe that my thought process is still similar to when I was a kid. I knew God as a child. It was simple. God is good. God is kindness. God is love. It's that easy. We have to unlearn all that discombobulated nonsense. It may sound good on paper. It may look good on paper. It may sound good in your reason. If it sounds good in your reason, that's great. It still doesn't mean, you might want to check yourself to see if you truly are aligned. Because your mind can convince you, well, it sounds good in my reason because I'm arrogant. So when you get out of all the thinking part of it and you're left with nothing, there's a nothing. In that nothing is a no thing. And in the no thing is everything. Be still. And know that I am God. When you allow yourselves, when we allow ourselves to dwell across the threshold into the kingdom of the soul, as divine children, we will play forever. Because the world that we think we're trying to change, manipulate, we have to be the change in the world that we want to see. We're not going to change this parallel, this dimension. You're not going to change it. Suddenly, through the silence, the new world appears. That's the place. That is how we elevate. We're freak, because like snowflakes, we're individuals. But our frequency, to lift the vibration to the realms of that which are eternal as well as the one that's lower. But we get to play with we get to manipulate. That is the right word. That word freaks people out. They think it means this bad thing, you're manipulating me. Well, it does mean that, but it's talking about I'm able to mold this like raw clay. I can do what I want with it, to manipulate it. When we get to fashion that, everyone around us, like Brian and I talked about earlier, children don't learn through what you say. They learn through what you do. So as you and all of us become more illuminated, those around you who are in less of a vibration than you have planted oodles of seeds that says, they trust me, effortlessly, they already agree with you, though they may have a war in the mind. They agree with you because they go, I want some more of that. I might not know how to get there. I might not like it. It may feel funky, or I'm scared of it. But the seeds, through observation, have been planted. So the world that you have experienced before Brian and I did this, are doing this interview tonight, if you've been here all night, you have shifted. There's nothing you can do about it. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And since I just said that, you have shifted. And there's nothing you can do about it. Absolutely nothing you can do about it. And so now the wheel starts turning. And it begins to exponentiate. And you come to a place of realization. This is the ongoing process for every human being, whether you're a conscious spiritual aspirant or not. But the benefits of being a conscious spiritual aspirant, now I'm adding more fuel to the fire so I can make it happen quicker. There's no timeline. Take your time, dear one. I want the shit now. I'm ready. I want the all of it. What about you, Brian? How are you feeling about that? You want the all of it, bro?
Yes, all right. So love is what we keep talking about, right? So it's such a funny thing because, if you don't, the first thing you got to do is love yourself, and not from an ego place of like, I'm better than you, so screw you. Instead, I'm okay with who I am. Like, my hair's thinning, I'm getting a little fatter, I'm aging, getting wrinkles, and I have to be okay with that, right? I'm not the guy I was, 30 years ago, or even 10 years ago, or even last week. I'm about a week better than I was last week. So within all that, we're all evolving and changing. And so love, when I love myself first, then I can start to love others as equals. Others, and I can see myself in the eyes of others. And when you begin to see yourself in the eyes of others, wow, then you have compassion for him. Then you have another level of kindness, or you raise your frequency. Instead of dragging people down to your level because you hate yourself and beating them down because that makes you feel a little bit better, right? Or argue, blaming, and complaining with them. Instead, look, they have a thing called Ubuntu. We'll get to that in a minute. But raising your frequency up and raising them up to your frequency, it's a trick, and it's a new habit. It's bringing them to yum, and you can keep people calm instead of argue, blaming, and complaining with you. And then you can. There's understanding. Then there's a whole new level of peace with that, right? Instead of always coming to confrontation. So when I love myself and I love others, then instead of when I don't love myself, it's do unto others before they'll do unto me. I'll just
twice as much.
Yeah. When it's I love myself, then it's treat others with love and respect, right? And so this goes with the children, it goes with the parents, it goes with your work, your lovers, everything else. It's like at some point you start to see the rest of the story. Instead of just your side of the coin, you can see the other side. It's like, why are they responding that way? What do they really need?
Brian, would you say that the compassion that you talked about a minute ago, would you say, and I know you will, would you say that the compassion we have for others' spin on reality is what allows us a glimpse of what it's like to walk in their shoes? In other words, because I'm compassionate about how you feel what you say, in the compassion, there's a dialogue that happens, a language that says, now because I trust you, I'm going to allow you into my fold so you can experience what it feels like to be me. Would you say that would be the exchange that takes place in compassion? I have compassion for you and where you are. And they respond by saying, thank you for allowing me to trust you again, my brother or my sister. And then, Yeah, yeah.
Yes, because you love to break words down, and I do too. Compassion, passion.
Come to it.
But passion, the excitement and the passion behind
The
it, right?
fire.
The feelings behind it, right? And so it's is part of that. Meaning you and I. Passion. So me understanding your passion, me understanding what you're feeling, what's going on there. And I've never even thought of that word compassion before, how that breaks down, but you love to do it. So yes, that's awesome that yes, you feel the feelings. Conscious co-creation is really where we're at right now. It's not just my experience in this world, it's my journey with all the souls that are around us. And sometimes some elementary versions of this come like, oh, I'm seeking my soulmate. Well, your soulmate is everybody in your life. It's every devil and every angel in your life. They're all teaching you lessons, right? And your soulmate might only happen that day for 3 minutes, and it might be someone you bump into for a minute.
Thank you so
They teach you a lesson.
much.
They teach you a lesson and then move along. They were the 3-minute soulmate, right? And then tomorrow you're going to have 12 other new 3-minute soulmates or whatever else, or whatever these are. It's not just the lover, it's the life, it's the journey that you're on. So look around you. If you got a bunch of devils and assholes around you, they're there to teach you some lessons. And if you're not getting the lessons, you stay in that little. And you
will revolve. You won't evolve. You will revolve.
Yeah. Quentin Crisp, this hilarious gay guy that was a writer, he said, if you are running a pig farm and you want to be a ballet dancer, a ballerina, and you just keep doing the pig farm, after a while, pigs become your style. And what happens is, if you hang out with pigs long enough, you start smelling like them. You start smelling like them. So if you're hanging around with a bunch of assholes, become an asshole.
It's not a judgment. It's just a fact of the matter. And you can't paint yourself you can't get out of the painted corner. It's like you have to look at it. If this is your experience, then why is it your experience and not John Doe? John Doe doesn't have white privilege or kudos because he's got more money. One thing I've learned, Brian, is instead of fucking asshole, he don't deserve that, I need that, is that if I want to join in forces, that which enforces, or if I want to join in forces with another person, they become my teacher. I get to glean what they're trying to teach me. Now we've become unified, and there's a third party, and there's fourth party. And things just get really easy, really quick. I've learned to stop being jealous. Except when I see something that I would have normally be jealous, the word jealousy shows up to say what I'm no longer, to make me go, oh my God, I have so shifted that I so love what this person is doing. Teach me. Preach to me. Tell me what you got to tell me, because I want a little bit of what you got.
Well, these patterns that we have of like judgment, argue, blame, and complain. Argue, blah, 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 blame. It's he made me that way. No, he made me. Or she made me. It's all her fault. Argue, blame, and complain. These are all energies. It's the lowest energy. There was a guy named David Hawkins. David Hawkins is a guy who did kinesiology, and it's that your body does not tell a lie. If you go to a really good chiropractor, he'll do this muscle testing on you to where he asks your body a question. Your mind doesn't have to be involved. He can ask your body a question, and you're resisting, you're pushing up while he's pushing down, and your body will tell the truth. It's kinesiology. David Hawkins was part of that. And if you look him up, Hawkins, it says a widely known authority, fields of consciousness research and spirituality. And then, later it's also world-renowned, internationally renowned psychiatrist, spiritual lecturer, mystic, and so on. You need to look him up. Okay, but it's a great chiropractor follows the spirit and follows the body, because the body doesn't lie, the mind does. And we're in that pattern of argue, blame, and complain. We run these patterns, and then our body starts locking up, and then your neck, you have a pain in the neck, and your pain in the neck is out, and you're carrying around this pain in the neck, and your neck is out, and you go to the chiropractor, and yeah, he can put the bones back, but unless you remove the energy that put it there, the person that was the pain in the neck, and the habit of you argue, blame, and complaining that causes that pain in the neck, or the gut instinct, the messed up digestion and releasing, the broken heart, unless you forgive and let go of those patterns, the neck doesn't reset, the stomach doesn't clear up, and your digestive doesn't clear up, the heart doesn't pump right. If you're having heart problems, if you're having digestive problems, if you're having chiropractic neck problems or lower back problems, look at your patterns, your emotion, energy and motion patterns. How are you contributing to it? Not only what are you feeding it with food, what are you feeding it with thoughts? What are you feeling? What are you connecting to? What's your patterns? So all of that connected. Make sense?
That is the way. When we don't understand that we're living in a place, when we're not living in a place of ease as opposed to disease, is that the spirit will begin to utter very subtle things. If you're hyper aware, you will understand spirit is telling me something. If you're not, then it begins to show up in the mind. The mind begins to think. If you don't get it there, the spirit's, believe it or not, loving grace will give it to you in the form of feeling, a little denser way that you might get it. You don't get it there, the spirit will continue to push, and the body will feel it, because it will show up in a way that you can no longer ignore and or deny. And that's what we call disease.
Dis-ease.
Disease. Brian, we're going to our
uneasy, dis-easy.
Disease. I'm not happy. You can never not be in the spiritual current, the conscious current.
Not an ease.
Choose to be conscious in the current or not. And if you're conscious in the current, you understand as one that I'm going to put my oars down. I trust, because I'm in the not T-H-E-T-H-E-E-V current. You are in the current because if you're not conscious of the current, you are like those stones that create rapids, which creates turbulence, which creates trouble. Unconsciousness always brings about trouble. Consciousness always brings about the opportunity for ongoing bliss. That happens when you have dialogue with your divine lover.
I will be with you always, until the end of time. You will never be alone. I am.
All of my life, all of my days, I feel you there beside me. All of my lives, all through my days, I've seen places far away. 100 just when time
and every moment by your own perceptions, your judgments, actions. Peace is a state of mind. Bliss is a state of heart. Heaven is a state of being.
Deep in my heart, I know you're there. I can always feel you guiding my life to see the light that will lead me to the truth. When I create, when I feel love, whenever I feel you with me, I celebrate times of my life. There is only you and me. For you are my mother,
My soul.
my divine lover. I celebrate times of my life. There is only you and me. Help me live.
Do you feel that? Did you feel that energy, for the power of where that song came from, and the two people that created that song? I had no part of that creation. I'm humbled. It's a beautiful, powerful song. It's about your connection to that which is so sacred, so important, that it literally requires your being vulnerable to ever play in its arena. That's called purity. And as innocent children of the light, you can never stain yourself so bad that your blemish could ever eject you from God's grace. It's impossible. Jesus' life was exactly that, as the landmark and reminder of that very divinity. Heaven on earth. He was heaven. If you think about it, look at the crucifix. His arms are out. There's a plane coming down vertically from heaven to earth, and there's a plane going across. Notice where they intersect. Right there. Heaven on earth is making yourself vulnerable to expose your core, to expose your light, to expose your uniqueness, your snowflake, your talent. Metaphorically, without everyone ever teaching you this, Spirit brings forth now this very simple, powerful model. Heaven on earth, and the planes intersect here. That's the gate. We were shown something. It's another language. Our final segment, welcome everyone to Center of Light Radio. My name's Keith Blanchard. Took a break for a long time. I needed a break. I got my break. I broke my fast. And my brother Brian Harden is joining me, and I love him dearly. He and I are so connected. It's like a FREAK-quency freak sandwich. So I did, Brian, if I did offer to the listening audience, and there's still quite a few people here, if you had something you wanted to ask, please keep it short.
All right, can I add before you do that?
Please.
All right, so you were talking about that little spot, the heart, but right below the heart, in they say the 7 chakras. I did this thing with Deepak Chopra where we not only did those 7 chakras, but you'd meditate with those.
All right.
And when he gets to the spot where your ribs are changing, that's the solar plexus, the fourth chakra, right? And there are
Third.
4 words that go with that. With the heart, it's
Correct.
peace. With the heart, it's peace, harmony, laughter, and love. Peace, harmony, laughter, love. Peace, harmony, laughter, and love. All right, but below that is desire, intention, will, and destiny. Desire, intention, will, and destiny. Now, this is, this is the chakra system. Desire, intention, will, and destiny. And how that connects with Christianity. Thy kingdom come. The kingdom you desire will come if your will to do it, thy will be done on the earth
and so
as it is in heaven. Desire, intention, will, and destiny. So your intention has to be there. So what you put your intention on and what you put your attention on, and if you will it to happen, meaning you really, really will it to happen, that doesn't mean you sit on the couch and think about it. It means you get off the couch and do your thing. Thy kingdom will come if your will, thy will happen, will be done on earth physically as it is in heaven. So what you imagine, your imagination shows up if you have the will, intention, and attention.
Hence free will. We have free will. Yeah. You can go down there and play and all the rhetoric, the nonsense, the noise, and it's okay. I need some warriors. Anybody want to go down the earth? Yeah, I do. Here's the mission. You're going to forget. And it's okay if you don't remember and you're forgetting. But you're going there to try to remember so you can bring this there. And also there, here. It's not just an ascension, a descension. It's also an ascension. So there's a shake hands deal that happens. Hence the Star of David. Up triangle, triangle. We see them all over the world. How did these pyramids come about? Supposedly, and the South Americas, and also in Egypt, these people had no transportation to come converse with you and say, well, we're going to be those things. Or did they? Or did they? Or were they so connected to the all, they understand the structure as the Star of David. The Star of David is a triangle up and a triangle down. And a circle. Well, not a circle. Or maybe a circle. It can be a circle.
It's actually a star tetrahedron.
Exactly.
It's three-dimensional, too. And if you look up a star tetrahedron, it's awesome.
Yes. And so what that is, Melchizedek. So what that is you have the hierarchy, the highest, the apex of the pyramid of the Star of David. The pyramid, the triangle that goes up. And then it comes down toward earth. The hierarchy begins to branch out. You got the 1, then you got the 2, then you got the 4, then you got the 8, then you got the 16, you got the 32, all the way down to earth. And so we as individuals, as the singular point down here, equally reach up. So there's this divine marriage, like that song just said from Labrador Soul, my divine lover. When you create a love affair with the highest point, with you as the lowest point, then we begin to crossfade and we become the Star of David. Jesus was of the family of the house of the Star of David. Such a point.
Jesus was a Jew in the Kabbalah. Have you ever seen the Kabbalah?
Yeah.
And you know the 7 chakras we just talked about?
Yes.
Well, they're in the Kabbalah. You know, with those when you build up the tree of life and then you tear it down, you actually have, instead of 7, some of those 7 going up split into 2. And so if you look at that tree of life with the Kabbalah, which is a Jewish book of mysticism, Jesus was a Jew, by the way, and you look into that, you'll see that there are triangles. And those triangles are body, mind, and spirit. And they're all connected. And you'll see that same Star of David as part of that. And you'll see that it goes in 3-dimensional ways, too. I'd recommend you to find Drunvalo Melchizedek talks about the tree of life. You'll see the Kabbalah, and there's a woman, Teresa Ibis Bullard. She's on Facebook also. She teaches mysticism that deals with all of this, and that symbolism and that sacred geometry and how it all connects, right? And then study the 7 chakras. And when you read and you understand all of that, it's all saying the same thing. And just like the pyramids are all literally the same size, the one in Egypt, the big 3 pyramids in Egypt, are in the same alignment to the Orion's belt, and as the ones in Mexico, above Mexico City at Teotihuacan, the same exact alignment, 1, 2, and then all in a corner. So it's the same in alignment, and the base of the Sun Pyramid is the exact same size as the big pyramid in Egypt, the exact same, within like an 1/8 of an inch or some crazy thing like that. Now tell me, coinkydink? No. You know, this was planned, and it brings the energy up.
There's a conscious stream of intelligence flowing throughout the universe, and those beings who have done the work are able to tap into it. That includes all of us. Brian, we are about to be shut off by Facebook. Oh. Right? Dude, I could do it for another hour. I could.
Well, let's go another 4 hours.
Anything in closing you got?
Oh, you know, what I always end up with is, love, joy, innocence, fearlessness, and gratitude. And it all connects into what you just talked about. All right, so this is, a little crazy talk, but in 2005, my grandmother passed away. All of a sudden, I was activated to do things I had never, ever even thought about. I traveled with the Hopi Indians on a 1,800-mile trip, running with water we gathered from around the world, went to Mexico City, and we did ceremony with the chief of Teotihuacan, those pyramids we're talking about. And so I go, before the Hopi arrived, and I end up at a woman's gathering 8 miles away, and end up asking somebody if they could take me back to the town where Teotihuacan is. The guy that takes me ends up being an elder in the tribe. He takes me to the chief's house, drops me off. I give him these symbols that another friend of mine was channeling, if you know what I mean, bringing information in, that he gave me these symbols and told me I'd know what to do with them. I give them to some guy who doesn't even speak English. He looks at them and gives them to the chief, who also doesn't speak English. And they say in broken English, "Where'd you get these?" I tell them from some friend of mine in Atlanta. They tell me, they point over into this dark, I'm in the middle of the night, in this dark field, and they say they dig up this building that's over in that field, and it's got those writings on. How did I know? I have no idea where I am. In the morning, I go to sleep at this chief's house. We talk about the star tetrahedron by not talking at all with words, but I draw the symbolism, and then he would, with that symbolism, get the information, and then he'd draw things and then give me information. We were reading each other's minds. I wake up and think, oh, the Hopi arrive. We do these ceremonies at 2 o'clock in the morning with these eagles and condors. We wake up, and I go out to where we're standing in the middle of the street, and there's the pyramid. The building he was talking about that they dig up in the middle of the night that had the symbols on were the pyramids. So the next day, he gives me a 200-year-old blessing vessel as a gift to me, and he tells me these 5 things that you need to have in consciousness. He said there's 9 levels of consciousness to the pyramids that go underground and above ground. And to go to all 9 levels of consciousness and come back out alive.
It's this way, and it's this way as well. Is that correct?
Yes, down too.
Correct.
And to go to all 9 levels and come back out alive, you have to have these qualities. Love, unconditional love. Love for yourself, love for everybody else is an equal. You have to have joy. That's happiness, joy. That's what we talked about, satisfaction, happiness, bliss, and joy. It's all connected, and you spread that, right? So love, joy, innocence, optimism, open-mindedness, fearless. All right, you have to have that optimism and think of the positive instead of the negative. Yum, 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 optimism. And then so love, joy, innocence, optimism. Fearlessness is the other one, and that's not like fearlessness like I'm so strong I can beat you up, but instead fearlessness like there's nothing to fear, because every crisis is an opportunity to learn and grow. So there's nothing to fear. It's going to teach you a lesson. So grow, learn, and grow. So love, joy, innocence, fearlessness, and then the last one's gratitude. Have thanks, give thanks. So when you go to sleep tonight, when you wake up in the morning, think of all the positive things, all the thankful things. What can I be thankful for? And don't be argue, blaming, and complaining, but instead open up to like, what do I have to be thankful for? And then give that innocence and joy and love, and what'll happen is it comes back. It's all contagious. And so he taught me that.
Like a yawn. Yawning is contagious.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and it ties back into, the Egyptian pyramids and that are aligned, and the Teotihuacan aligned to the 3 stars. That's Orion's belt. On December 21st is the shortest day of the year. And the 3 wise men are coming from the east. Guess which ones they are? Those are the 3 stars of Orion's belt coming from directly east, the furthest east they go. They come rising from the east on December 21st. So this whole died and resurrected, well, it's the shortest day of the year, and the sun rising, it's coming back to a longer day, a new year, right? Longer sun, the sun of God, the sun is rising. You get it? It's all the same.
And sun is also known as soul, S-O-L.
Yeah.
Soul, S-O-U-L. Brian, thank you for being here. His Facebook is about to shut us off. Dude, let's do this actually often.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Maybe, right. Maybe once every other month. Maybe once, however it's going to unfold. I just love these dialogues, bro. They're just so innocent and fun, and 2 knuckleheads hanging out. Everyone, I would love to get to your posts and like your comments. I'm in Facebook jail. Facebook hell, Mark Zuckerberg. No, but Brian, thank you.
Well, we could do it on mine too.
Set it up.
Yeah.
Love to. Brian, let's chat soon. Thank you.
All right.
Everyone, my dear friend, Mr. Brian Harden, I just love having a beer or two over a conversation with Brian. So I'm going to close with a Lavender Soul song. And I want to say thank you for allowing me to bring Center of Light Radio back. I am not going to disappoint you. I'm going to bring guests that is going to wow you. A friend of mine I can't wait to get is Dr. John Robinson. He's an expert about understanding death. Wow. And he brings with him such a gentle spirit. It creates such a disposition of an amazing comfort. I love this man. I truly, oh my God, I love this man. I know this man, and he and I so knuckle up so effortlessly. My name is Keith Anthony Blanchard. Center of Light Radio is back. Help me grow this platform. It's not my platform, it's our platform. Lavender Soul. Enjoy.
in the present time and see our love is fine. When we look inside each other and we see God in another, and we feel the love inside and see our love is fine. Come fly with me, and I will carry you above the trees for a different view. Beyond belief is what you're moving through. Create your dream is no other, the Father and the Son, sister and mother. What is this pain for you? Why don't you seek the truth? What can I do for you, beloved?
Good night, beautiful people. I love you. This is what pure potentiality looks like. God on earth. Center of Light Radio. Good night.